up in Pickens County, moving through Cherokee County, is coming through Paulding now, moving toward Cobb County. That's why you're looking at that severe thunderstorm warning. And of course in Douglas, then the line goes through areas as you head down toward Hurd. It's not quite into Troop, and our friends next door in Alabama, you're still seeing some heavy downpours as well. Brian just put on here the counties that are included in the tornado watch, and that does go through 6 o'clock this evening, and we'll watch this gradually work its way through the area. It's just 1:18 now. Probably estimated time for this to be on top of us or just trying to leave the Atlanta area would be maybe a little bit after 2 o'clock, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah, a little bit after 2 o'clock. In fact, I'm checking one of our new forecast models right now that updates based on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar. And yeah, let's say next hour to 2 to 3 hours, right in the heart of Metro Atlanta, we're going to have that potential here for some downpours, the possibility of strong gusty wind, the isolated tornado threat here, as meteorologist Brad Nitz joins us as well.
Yeah, and we continue to watch this. You've got this area flashing light. If you're not familiar with what these symbols mean, the yellow flashing lines are showing the area that's in a severe thunderstorm warning. If it was red, it would be a tornado warning. The red counties indicate where we have the tornado watch, and that goes until 6 o'clock tonight. If you don't know the difference between a warning and a watch, whether it's a tornado watch or a thunderstorm watch, it means that it could happen, that the elements are there, that it could occur. When there is a warning, whether it's a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning, means it is happening now or imminent. And so at this point, you've got this line of strong storms making their way into the metro area. It will not be too long from now before it starts to get inside the perimeter. And we see here in Dallas, very heavy rain over you. Douglasville as well. Strong winds. See, notice how tightly packed the colors are, the yellow and the red and then the green next to it. That's indicating we've got some very, very strong winds occurring across the area at this point. And so within that warning, you've got strong winds, could take down tree branches, tree limbs, and of course there could even be a little bit of some hail. We've seen some at times with it, and as Brian is drawing on our map here, he's showing the winds that are moving away and towards the radar site, and within that we could have a little bit of some rotation along this line. So here's Douglasville, Austin Middle School, and what is this? Winston Elementary School. Your students are in the classes. You don't need to go rushing to pick them up. They will be put in their safe place, and most schools have it really down pat. They know exactly what they're supposed to do when severe weather develops, and they rehearse for this as well. So folks in Austin Middle School, Grace Baptist Christian School, you're looking at some very heavy downpours in your area. And if we could switch back to our other mode at this point, and we'll take a look at some of the heaviest of the rain and see if there's any spots. I don't see any spots right down here to the south that might have a little bit of some hail down in this corner, the very lowest corner of Douglas County. And as we go through the afternoon, again, watch for downpours, very heavy, strong, gusty winds, damaging winds in your area, and that's going to be your main problem. So if you are just to the east of Douglasville, don't leave your home or your business and try to rush off anywhere now. Let this system pass through. You stay in a safe spot as we're looking for the heavy rains to then move in. And once it starts moving across the perimeter, it's going to be really tough. Of course, it still has a ways to go. Here's Atlanta. This is I-285 out toward Douglasville. So there's a little bit of time to come on through here, but it is going to make for some very difficult travel for us throughout the day. And meteorologist Brad Nitz is moving in here now, and he is showing the timeline of this coming in out of Douglasville into Clarkdale and Chapel Hill in about a minute, 2 minutes to Rivertown, Floyd in about 5, Mableton in 6, and Smyrna in about 9 minutes from now. You'll start to experience that very heavy rain and some very strong and gusty winds. And my colleague Brad Nitz now, meteorologist Brad Nitz, is here, and he's going to give you some new updated information. Brad, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad to be here. Of course, got some new information from the National Weather Service. The storm that produced the tornado touchdowns that we expect that we'll be able to confirm with crews in the field in the hours and days ahead, that has weakened somewhat, but radar indicated the lofted debris, as Karen and Brian were showing you just a few minutes ago. So we still have the possibility of a few isolated wind damage and some isolated tornadoes redeveloping, not out of the question. So the active warning now is a severe thunderstorm warning, but the potential for some isolated tornadoes with that, it's embedded within this much larger line that extends from near Blairsville down through Cherokee County, heads up Cherokee County along 575. The worst of the weather is just about to hit you. It extends through Paulding, moving into West Cobb now, and moving into out of Douglas and into southwestern Fulton County over the next few minutes. That line continues back down towards Carroll and Heard County and moving into sections of northern Troup County north of LaGrange here in the next few minutes. But as Karen zooms in, I want to show you around Marietta, East Cobb, up towards Kennesaw. There's some heavy rain. No threat for tornado touchdowns in this area right now, but we do have some very heavy rain and gusty winds back towards southwest Cobb near Douglasville, right along I-20, and that's tracking towards the east. So Karen and Brian have been showing you the winds with this. Let's switch over to the wind mode. We can look at the velocity, and earlier you saw very clearly the towards and away red and green signature of the winds blowing right towards and away the radar and indicating that rotation. What we're looking at here is winds blowing in one direction. So this is good news in the sense that tornado development does not appear to be imminent, but these straight line winds could gust in excess of 60 miles an hour. So that can certainly bring down some trees and some branches there. And where you see this kind of bow shape here in Douglas County, indication of very strong winds there in and around Douglasville and spreading towards the east. Those winds are going to pick up in East Cobb, Southeast Cobb, down towards Vining, Smyrna, and into the western parts of Fulton County as it crosses the Chattahoochee River here in the next few minutes. Those winds are really going to pick up for you. But good news as we look here is we're not seeing that rotation that would indicate tornado development, at least not in the short term. This yellow flashing polygon is a severe thunderstorm warning for damaging straight line wind gusts possible and the possibility of an isolated tornado spinning up again. This is until 2 p.m. We're going to stay here with you live for at least the next 4 minutes until 1:30 and certainly longer if conditions warrant. But right now, from Powder Springs to Austell to Mableton, the weather deteriorating rapidly for you. Back towards Douglasville, the very heavy rain there along I-20 and tracking towards the east. We've got Highway 78 here just northeast of Douglasville. This is Highway 92 in Douglas County that extends from Douglas into Fulton County. These are the areas that are going to get not just these torrential downpours, but those damaging straight line wind gusts. So trees down certainly could bring down some power lines with gusts over 60 miles an hour in this area, and ponding on the roads. Of course, we got the beneficial rainfall a day ago. This adds to that, so there could be some minor flooding of streams, creeks, and in particular areas with poor drainage or clogged drains. That's something to keep in mind, and I would advise you to stay off the roads until at least this leading edge where the worst of the weather moves on through. Headed into Austell and Campbellton right now, Floyd in about 5 minutes, Elizabeth, Mableton, Marietta about 6 minutes from now, continuing on towards West Oak at 7, Leland in 8 minutes, Blackwell's in 8 minutes as well. That's the leading edge of these strong and potentially severe thunderstorms. Let's look back towards the north and west as we put this into motion. You can see moving generally from west to east, the individual cells tracking a little bit more northeasterly, and this heavy rain extends north of the warning area now. So look at this as it came out of Cartersville and Paulding County into, or rather in Bartow County into Cherokee County. This area, very heavy rain moving into Canton now. It spreads up towards Jasper across Pickens County, heads up for you and Dawson and Forsyth County. You've got this good moderate rain now, but much heavier rains coming. And embedded within this, there's some gusty winds, I would estimate now, based on the appearance by radar, about 40 to 45 miles an hour. And then the winds up to 60 miles an hour, not out of the question with this storm that has the history of producing likely some tornado touchdowns back towards the west. Still some damaging winds possible here around Hal Hutchins Elementary School, just northwest of Douglasville. There's Grace Baptist Church to the north, Powder Springs in southwestern Cobb County. This is the area that has the greatest potential for, again, those trees, power lines coming down, the straight line wind gusts, at least 60 miles an hour with some of these. So here's what we're looking at around the Hal Hutchins Elementary School to the south and east. These are winds that are blowing from the radar to the east about 30 miles an hour, and then back towards the west we have winds blowing towards the radar in that same direction. So what we're not seeing here is an indication of rotation, something we're going to watch here very carefully, but we are seeing that potential for strong wind gusts. Those are relative to the radar site, so the actual wind speed along the ground could easily exceed 60 miles an hour. Let's take an overall slightly bigger view for the rest of the metro area. I want to give folks that are a little bit farther to the south and to the east an idea of what's coming. So far in Gwinnett County, into DeKalb County, all of the South Metro. It's been pretty quiet. This line of storms is headed your way and will continue to track towards the east. Northwestern sections of Georgia starting to see it taper off. So the greatest risk for severe weather is really in this embedded line of thunderstorms, heavy downpours, where we could have those damaging winds. And as Brian Karen put this into motion, you can see the red polygon here, that tornado warning expired, was actually canceled a few minutes early as we lost some of that rotation signature, and replaced by this severe thunderstorm warning that includes much of Cobb, parts of West and Southwest Fulton County, and all of Douglas County under this severe thunderstorm warning. Now, we're going to continue with some coverage off and on through the afternoon as conditions warrant on WSB-TV.com, our digital platforms. You can download our app in the App Store. It's free. And, of course, we'll interrupt programming as conditions warrant right here on Channel 2. Stay tuned to WSB. We'll have updates right on through the afternoon, and Channel 2 Action News at 4 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Hi, folks. Channel 2 Action News meteorologist Brian Monahan here, along with Brad Nitz, Karen Minton, and Katie Walls, as we track this line of showers and storms moving through North Georgia. In the last little while here, we have had, actually, if we could now, could we go ahead and flip over the TV monitors here for us so that we can see what we're doing here now in programming. But again, you can see that heavy rain and line of storms now moving from Blairsville through Metro Atlanta, through Cherokee County, Fulton and Cobb counties now, getting into South Fulton, and then down on through the south side. Now, about a half an hour ago, Karen and I joined you with a tornado warning over on Channel 2. That has been allowed to expire. That was a confirmed tornado. That was in parts of Haralson County, Carroll County, and moving into Paulding County. That has been replaced with this flashing yellow box here. That's a severe thunderstorm warning. That includes Cobb, Fulton, parts of Paulding County, and that's going to go here until we head toward close to the top of the hour. So you can see, again, that heavy line of rain now making its way to the east. So if we can go ahead and drive Storm Tracker 2 HD radar, we'll go ahead and put it in live mode for you now. And I want to show you where some of those heavier pockets of rain are falling. And we'll go ahead and do some storm tracks here. Certainly heavy rain yesterday on the order of 2 to 3 inches of rain, and more rain falling right now across North Georgia, and it's falling heavily. In fact, likely some very strong wind in this part of the line right here. This is northeast Douglas County. Here's I-20 coming in toward the area around Six Flags, Austell, Mableton in South Cobb County. Could have some wind gusts 40 up to 50 miles per hour for this warned storm, severe thunderstorm warned storm, moving into Pebblebrook Estates coming up in 5 minutes, Oakdale in 8 minutes, Vinings in 10 minutes, and around Riverside coming up in about 12 minutes from right now as we continue to track this storm that has had a history of producing a tornado. There are no active tornado warnings right now, but an active severe thunderstorm warning covers a good chunk of Metro Atlanta right now. We'll go ahead and track the part of the line, likely with some wind gusts at least close to 40 miles per hour coming through Cobb County now, approaching Marietta coming up in the next 4 minutes, Blackwell's in 5 minutes, Sandy Plains in 6, and around Greenway in 12. And also the potential, we have also had some reports of some small hail in some of these storms as well. That could be a very isolated risk as we head through the afternoon as this line extends to the north. Very beneficial rain certainly falling through Pickens County, down through Cherokee County, the worst of it now passing to the by to the east of Jasper, but now moving in toward Harmony in 4 minutes. Micah coming up in 10 minutes, and around Juneau in 10 minutes from now. So this part of the line here, likely with some wind gusts above 40 miles per hour coming through parts of Cherokee County, moving toward Forsyth and toward Dawson County. Now, on the south side, it's been fairly dry so far today, but the clouds certainly darkening up as this line of heavy rain and storms moves in through Coweta County as Brad goes ahead and puts a track on this, moving out of Carroll County and now through North Coweta County. Here's Noonan. Here's I-85 coming in toward Dresden in 2 minutes, West Noonan in 8 minutes, Palmetto in 10 minutes. Certainly heavy rain, certainly gusty wind, perhaps up and above 40 miles per hour, and that possibility for some small hail as these storms and this line of storms moves very quickly to the northeast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. So fast-moving storms, and the reason they're so gusty, well, we've got very strong wind just above the ground. They're moving very fast to the north and east, and it's that motion to the north and east along with the heavy rain that's helping us give some of these certainly very strong winds across North Georgia. Farther back to the south and west, heavy rain across West Point Lake coming out of Carroll County. Here's Heard County, north end of West Point Lake into North Troup County. I know it's pretty quiet right now in LaGrange, but more heavy rain moving in for you. Here's the time lapse of Storm Tracker 2 HD radar showing that line of heavy rain moving closer and closer to West Point Lake and Troup County. Again, here's the wide view. And Brad, before I go ahead and turn it over to you, let's go ahead and put the tornado watch box back on there. I want to refresh you that we do have a tornado watch in effect for all of the counties highlighted in red. So that includes a lot of Metro Atlanta, North Georgia mountains. You're out of this watch, but really from about areas around Cherokee County, Bartow County, points to the south, there's that tornado watch that's going to go until 6 o'clock. We've already had one confirmed report of a tornado that on the ground. That was about a half an hour or so ago back across Carroll County and Haralson County. No active tornado warnings right now, but that potential, Brad, is going to be there through the afternoon as this line works its way off to the east.
That's right. Watching the wind here, and in particular the possibility of a little bit of rotation showing up in actually 3 spots, 2 in Douglas, 1 in Cobb County now. They're relatively weak, but we're keeping our eyes on those. The possibility there is something that we're going to have to watch very carefully. But right now, we're looking at gusty, mainly straight line winds in this area, and the severe thunderstorm warning that you see flashing there in yellow, that's in effect until 2 p.m. So damaging straight line winds are likely with this storm as it moves through now and tracks towards the east-northeast at about 60 miles an hour. But we're looking at the potential for some rotation, which would indicate a stronger thunderstorm and even the possibility of some isolated tornadoes. So that's a possibility, but we have no tornadoes right now or on the ground, not at this moment. Something we're keeping our eyes on very carefully, and we're watching right here along where you see this discontinuity between the greens and the reds, and that's over much of Cobb, eastern sections of Douglas County into southwest Fulton County, areas that we have our eyes on. But I do expect it's very likely with the storm, whether or not we see a spin up of another isolated tornado, very likely we'll have additional wind damage in the form of straight line winds bringing on trees and power lines. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts likely right along the leading edge here, and you see this gradient where it goes from red to yellow to green in that very short period of time where it's packed in tightly there. That's an indication, one of the things we look for some damaging straight line winds right along the leading edge. So Brian Monahan's doing a storm track on this as it's tracking towards Atlanta and downtown. It'll be downtown within 20 minutes or so. Right now it's headed into Oakdale until the next 2 to 4 minutes. Adamsville about 5 minutes from you. Bolton in 7 minutes. Stratford and Ben Hill 8 to 10 minutes from now. Some rain will precede that, but that's the time of arrival of the strongest part of the storm with the potential for wind damage. Now, the winds appear to be a little less strong, but still strong nonetheless. 40 to 50 mile an hour winds moving towards Palmetto and Noonan. That could bring down small trees and branches, just not quite the strength of the wind we're seeing moving into Fulton and parts of Cobb County now. But this part of the storm moving towards Welcome in 2 minutes, Dresden in 4, off to Sherwood Forest in 8 minutes, West Noonan in about 9, Madras in 11 minutes as this storm continues its track towards the east. The storm threats for today: heavy rain. It's happening now, and it's going to continue to happen as this spreads to the east. So the heavy rain threat is high, and that's going to lead to some areas of rising streams, creeks, rivers, but the ponding on the roads, areas with poor drainage and clogged drains, that's the primary concern for the heavy rain. Damaging wind gusts, in a broad sense, it's moderate. However, where that severe thunderstorm warning is occurring right now, parts of Fulton, Douglas, Cobb County, it's a high risk for you. Damaging straight line winds in excess of 60 miles an hour. The tornado risk is low for any one particular location, but it's not zero. We've already had radar indicated tornadoes tornado as this storm system has been moving in from the west, and additional isolated tornado spin-ups not out of the question. So that's the reason we have a tornado watch in effect until 6 p.m. for most of the metro area. We're watching that very carefully. Just west of Mableton, we're watching the possibility of a little bit of weak rotation in this area. This is tracking towards the east-northeast very rapidly. So this is something worth keeping our eyes on, as it's an indication of a rotating thunderstorm. And whether or not it develops into a tornadic storm, it still is an indication of quite a bit of strength here, and that would lead to some damaging straight-line wind gusts. Those strong winds about to cross I-75 and 285 in Cobb County, moving up towards Sandy Springs. So the worst of this storm back in the back edge where we're indicating that weak rotation. This is the time of arrival. Already storm and heavy rain in these locations, but the rotating winds into Floyd in about 2 minutes, Oakdale in 6, Smyrna in 7 minutes, as meteorologist Brian Monahan is drawing that storm track in that direction. Over North Fulton County from Roswell to Alpharetta, more moderate rain. Yeah, Brian?
We're going to need to go ahead and go over onto Channel 2. I want to bring you new information. Tornado warning radar indicated for that feature you were pointing out right over Six Flags that you were showing that rotation.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and...
So that's what Brian and I have been tracking, that rotation starting to strengthen. So we need to, heads up in the control room, we need to break into the WSB-TV. All right, folks, thanks for joining me. Brian Monahan, myself here, tracking a thunderstorm that has been showing signs of rotation, and tornado warning has just been issued for this spot. So this information just coming in now. Here's the new tornado warning. It includes the area right around Six Flags, up towards Riverside Intermediate School, Pebblebrook Estates. You see this red flashing polygon. Brian, let's give a slightly wider view just so we can outline the warning area, and then we'll zoom in with some street level mapping. So here's the new tornado warning, and it includes the southern sections of Cobb County, parts of central Fulton County, and it does cross over into DeKalb County where the storm is expected to go. So here's the timeline over the next few minutes: into Stratford in 3 minutes, Oakdale in 4, Cary Park in 5, Chattahoochee also in about 5 minutes until 2 p.m. Brian Monahan indicating this tornado warning in effect now until 2 p.m. So we're going to come in close. Brian's going to zoom into the area where we're seeing the rotation with that storm starting to spin up now and has the possibility of some tornado touchdown. So it's right here just to the east and really east and northeast of the Six Flags area up towards Mableton, where we have this green and red, some rotation there, and it's spread towards the south. But I doubt this is the area where we're going to see tornado touchdowns, Brian. I would expect it would be a little bit farther to the south. Maybe if we go to the storm relative velocity mode, we might be able to isolate that just a touch better. But nonetheless, some rotation in this area. There you go. In storm relative velocity, we could see here some winds blowing away from the radar, here towards the radar. So this is I-20 just east of Six Flags Drive. Brian's putting some of these locations on here. This is where we have some rotation, the possibility of tornado touchdowns. So if you are in this location or in the path up towards Bolton Road, Scott Elementary School, Town Elementary School, seek shelter immediately if you are in or around that area. A tornado touchdown is possible, and it's for southern parts of Cobb, parts of Fulton, DeKalb counties until 2 p.m. And when you seek shelter from a tornado, here's what you need to do in this order: lowest level of your house, away from windows, in an interior room. So if you have a basement, that's your best choice. Otherwise, the lowest floor. Interior bathroom that's windowless, an interior closet. Those are often good choices. You can see this is now tracking a little bit farther to the east. So right along the river, this is the boundary into Fulton County, and this is the area where we're seeing the rotation now as it continues to track towards the east. So we're going to switch over. Brian, do we have anything showing up on the CC, the row HV, where we could see any indication of?
Yes, we do.
There we go. So check this out. What we're looking at here is an indication likely of lofted debris. This tells us that there's likely a tornado on the ground right now. All of this pink, that is very uniform, in this case, rain being detected by the radar, where we have this what's called low correlation coefficient, where the indications of the things that the radar is bouncing off of is very random, as you would expect in debris. We are able to highlight that in yellow. So lofted debris indicated in this area. So let's give a slightly wider perspective just to get our bearings on exactly what we're looking at. So here's Smyrna. This is southern Cobb County. It's moved now east of Douglas County, and this is Chattahoochee River and Fulton County. So it's crossing the river now from southeast Cobb into western Fulton County. Here's downtown. Here's Buckhead. Downtown, it appears that it's going to stay north of you as it tracks to the east-northeast, but the Buckhead area, one of the areas of great concern. So right here, this is the spot where we're showing some lofted debris, and if you're here in the path over the next few minutes, you need to seek shelter immediately. Here's a look now live at our airport tower camera looking towards the west as this line of storms is coming in. This is the leading edge of the severe thunderstorm line and this embedded tornado just to the west of G.A. Towns Elementary School there in western sections of Fulton County. And so let's go back to the full screen view here so I can see these street names a little bit better. Here's Discovery Boulevard. It's along and just to the south of Discovery. Brian, let's indicate some of these other streets here. This is the perimeter. This is 285. So between the Chattahoochee River, 285. This is Fulton County Airport, Charlie Brown Field, Veterans Memorial Parkway. In this area, tornado likely touching down now. Seek shelter immediately. Lowest level of your house, interior room, away from windows. It looks like this is going to pass just to the north of G.A. Towns Elementary School. Let's hope so. Certainly school's in session and kids are there. This is the Alfred Blank Elementary School just to the north and east, and unfortunately it looks like this tornadic thunderstorm is going to pass very near the elementary school. Brian?
Brad, some new information in just here in the last second or so from the Weather Service. This is now our second confirmed tornado of the day. So not just radar indicated anymore. This is now confirmed and observed tornado. New information here located over Bolton near Atlanta, and it's moving to the northeast at about 45 miles per hour. And this was that debris see that field of pink, and then right in the middle, right in the area near Discovery Boulevard, G.A. Towns Elementary School. Brad, sometimes it takes some time for a tornado to be on the ground before we see that debris signature, and that's what we're seeing, that bullseye of yellow and orange there. That is a sign that there's not just rain. This is some debris that's been lofted.
That's right. So this is likely grass, branches, leaves. Unfortunately, moving through a populated area, this could be some debris from buildings, depending on exactly where it's touching down. And Brian made a good point. The time it takes from a tornado touchdown for the debris to be lofted up in the atmosphere and the radar to pick it up can take at least 5 minutes. So what we're looking at here is debris lofted in the atmosphere from a tornado touchdown about 5 minutes ago, at least. And so we're going to continue to watch this, track it, but there's a little lag time between the debris showing up and the tornado's position on the ground. So right now it's likely that the tornado, and we can see we're whittling down that warning area, doing a path along the leading edge of that tornadic thunderstorm, moving right now into Oakdale, Center Hill, Cary Park, Chattahoochee, Riverside, Bolton. If you're in these locations, you need to seek shelter immediately. Lowest level of your house, interior room, away from windows. 2:15. The new warning now 2:15 as it's been extended a little bit farther to the east. So this tornado warning in effect until 2:15. You can see here in Cobb County, you've been removed from the tornado warning. So Cobb County out of the tornado warning continues now for parts of Fulton and DeKalb County towards the east until 2:15. So update the banner now at the bottom of the screen. Fulton, DeKalb counties until 2:15 is the updated information, and it's right in this area near Scott Elementary School, William J. Scott Elementary School, Bolton Road. This is the spot, and the communities and the neighborhoods around Scott Elementary School. We have rotating thunderstorm. This is a live look from Discovery Boulevard. This is a DOT camera showing the wet roads in that area. Wet roads are really the least of our concern in this area. This is a tornado, radar indicated on the ground, moving towards the northeast. So here we are, South Atlanta Road, the Lovett School, to get your bearings. It's going to pass near, but likely just south of the Lovett School as it's taking a track in this direction. Radar now updating. It's just to the north, it appears, of the William J. Scott Elementary School, tracking towards the east. So Brandon Elementary School, you are potentially in the path of this tornado. You students and teachers there, folks in the neighborhoods surrounding Brandon Elementary School, you need to seek shelter immediately as this radar-confirmed tornadic thunderstorm is moving towards the northeast. Moores Mill Road, there's Marietta Boulevard up towards Ridgewood Road. These communities, these neighborhoods, you all need to seek shelter immediately. Lowest level, interior room, away from windows. What we're showing here with the green and the red, winds blowing away from the radar and towards the radar. So we can infer from that the rotation of a tornado. As we looked at the correlation coefficient in our dual pole radar, we were able to pick out the signature of lofted debris from the tornado. What we mean by that is tornado touches down, picks up debris and lofts it up in the atmosphere. And Brian, this is even more significant than we were looking at a few minutes ago. Look at this bullseye of yellow and green there near Bolton Road. Unfortunately, it's passing through a very populated area here just to the east of the Chattahoochee River, near and just blocks north perhaps of Scott Elementary School, and traveling along Bolton Road up towards Moores Mill Road, Brandon Elementary School, just south of the Levitt School. I implore you, if you are in this location, you need to seek shelter now. As we get the update here, the lofted debris from this tornado is spreading farther to the east. So here's Northside Parkway. Here's the perimeter to the west. So we're inside the perimeter in Fulton County. This is the Chattahoochee River. There's Northside Parkway. Here's West Wesley, and this is tracking generally in the direction of Buckhead. Heads up for those of you in Buckhead. Now is the time to seek shelter. We have a tornado confirmed by radar on the ground as we're able to highlight this debris picked up by the tornado and pulled up into the atmosphere. Our radar can isolate that and separate that from the rain that we've indicated in the pink. So if you're in Buckhead, right now is the time for you to seek shelter. Lowest level of your house. If you have a basement, get there immediately. Lowest level of your house, away from windows, because a lot of injuries in tornadoes from flying debris and flying broken glass. So you have to stay away from windows and an interior room. Put more walls between you and the exterior of your building, and that will increase your safety. Here's the updated storm track. Meteorologist Brian Monahan putting it on here into Sandy Springs in 9 minutes, 10 minutes to North Atlanta. Dunwoody, heads up. Now's the time for you to grab your children, your family members, your friends, head to the basement. In Dunwoody in 13 minutes, Chamblee in 14 minutes, Doraville 15, if it holds together, into Norcross in 22 minutes. So here we are looking at Sandy Springs, Buckhead. Just to the west of these areas, these communities, is where the worst of the weather is. We have strong wind preceding the rotating thunderstorm where the tornado is likely occurring right now. This is Bolton Road, West Wesley. This is Buckhead. Here's Piedmont and Lenox, and up towards 400, and we're looking at the rotation here, not indicated as well as it was a few minutes ago, but we are able to pick up some red away, some green towards, but those values that Brian's able to query there, fairly insignificant. But that lofted debris signature has been quite significant, and that shows us that there is debris in the atmosphere, much different appearance on radar than rain. So the rain is all pretty uniform appearing to the radar, so we indicate that with the shades of the dark pink. What we have here with the indication in yellow is a very random return from the radar beam, and that would be branches, trees, and unfortunately likely some building materials, as this is a tornado confirmed on the ground by radar moving through populated areas, and unlikely that it didn't cause some damage to some buildings, unfortunately. But my advice to you, I ask and I implore you, if you're in the path of this tornado, to seek shelter immediately. So West Wesley, Howell Mill Road, Northside Parkway. Here's West Paces Ferry, Arden Road. There's West Wesley, Peachtree Road. In Buckhead, if you live on or near one of these streets, if you live in these neighborhoods, now is the time for you to seek shelter. As the radar updates, you can see we still have this lofted debris headed towards the east. And as meteorologist Brian Monahan pointed out a few minutes ago, there is a little bit of a lag time between the debris being picked up and then being high enough in the atmosphere. It takes about 5 minutes or so to get that debris off the ground and high enough to show up in the radar. So what we're looking at is lofted debris from when the tornado was on the ground about 5 minutes ago. There is that lag time we're looking at, and this rotation looks a little bit weaker than it was a few minutes ago. Certainly we're hopeful that that's an indication of some weakening of this system, but it's too soon to say that. So my advice to you is to go into the lowest level of your house. Okay, so we have Ross Cavett on the phone. He's going to join us live. Ross, first tell folks where you are right now.
Right, we're at 285 and I-20. We're going to head north at 285 from here to where there was a report of a sighting a possible snow cloud near Hollowell Parkway. I'm not hearing a lot of significant damage at this point other than some lines down and maybe some trees down in the southeast part of Cobb County. Traffic almost came to a standstill on the interstate. We did see a lot of debris, so it was obviously freaking out drivers here on the interstate. They did what they should have done, slowed way down, almost came to a stop. But again, we're going to be heading north on 285 toward where some folks said they saw the sun.
Okay, Ross, so be careful out there along 285. Let's top into the perimeter. Some of the worst of the weather is there now. And radar indicating tornado touchdowns just to the west of Buckhead, moving into and through the Buckhead area now. Tornado warning is in effect, remains in effect for Fulton, DeKalb counties until 2:15. So about another 20 minutes. There's the potential it could be extended farther as it tracks to the east. So here's the tornado warning area. It's fairly small, but it includes now this little sliver around Buckhead to the north and east, nearer and just to the east and southeast of Sandy Springs and the northern sections of DeKalb County. The strong straight line winds and heavy rain extend north and south of that, but this is the area of greatest concern. So what we're looking at here, still an indication of some lofted debris, not quite as symmetrical as it was earlier, but nonetheless still likely some branches, twigs, perhaps parts of roofs lofted up into the atmosphere. It's just here, just to the west of the indication of Buckhead on the map, but that's the center point. So it is in the western part of Buckhead right now. And to get your bearings on the roads, this is I-75, this is 400, this is the top end of the perimeter, and the Northeast Expressway, that's I-85. So what we're looking at is rotating thunderstorm, likely damaging winds, and still quite possibly some additional tornado touchdowns with this storm near West Wesley Road, crossing very near 400, near the Lenox Road area, the Lenox Mall, and just to the north and west. These are the areas that have the greatest potential right here along West Paces Ferry, Peachtree Road. You need to seek shelter as not just damaging winds, but tornado touchdown was confirmed by radar just a few minutes ago, and that potential continues in the Buckhead area. Here's 400. There's Lenox Road. So you're familiar with the Lenox Mall area. It's very close to and just to the west there. So we have a live picture of Peachtree near Lenox Road. The rain is falling, the traffic there, and very likely to be some damaging wind gusts and possible tornado touchdowns in and around that area. So that's what it looks like right now, live from that location. And as Brian indicated, as he zoomed in there, that was just to the north and west of the mall. Now back towards the southwest, here's West Point. There's LaGrange, West Point Lake. This is I-85. We have a new tornado warning that's approaching western Georgia. Not there yet, but it's something that we're going to have to watch very carefully. Brian's drawing of the telestrator, the area of concern for some damaging straight line wind gusts, rotation likely right about in this location just west of West Point. So we're going to keep our eyes on that.
Want to pass along new wind gust report from Fulton County Airport up to 55 miles per hour, so near that 58 severe threshold. So definitely, Brad, as you've been mentioning, those strong wind, even at any point along this line. Yeah, and as we were tracking this radar-indicated tornado, we had even pulled up the Charlie Brown Field, that's the Fulton County Airport, as one of those spots where it was passing very near. So we're going to continue to monitor that. This other tornado warning that's in eastern Alabama. Brian, let's go right back up into the metro area and do another update for the folks that are watching in the heart of metro Atlanta as this tornado continues. Potential touchdowns and the tornado warning remains in effect for about 19 more minutes until 2:15. It's this area here near Buckhead and tracking rapidly to the northeast. So heads up for those of you around Doraville, Buford Highway. You are in the potential path of this tornado, and it's right here where we see this kind of you could have imagined a little twisting comma shape here in the rain on the radar, and it's right there at the apex of that where we have the rotation and the thunderstorm. Chamblee in about 3 minutes from you, Northwoods as well, Doraville in 4 minutes, and then it's about 10 minutes from Norcross, Peachtree Corners, 14 minutes from Pittman. If it holds together that long, it will continue its track across DeKalb County. So for those of you in Cobb County, you are out of the tornado warning. The tornado threat has ended for you in Cobb County. Still an active severe thunderstorm warning till the top of the hour at 2 o'clock.
North Fulton County up towards Alpharetta. This is 400 moving towards Johns Creek. Very heavy rain and radar indicating some rotation in this area. So we're going to watch this to see if it in fact spins up and becomes another tornado. It's a possibility. We're not seeing that yet now, but if I were you in Alpharetta and Johns Creek, I would just go ahead and seek shelter in case it does spin up very quickly. Lowest level of your house, interior room, away from windows. A tornado warning may be issued for this spot, but nonetheless, it's a rotating thunderstorm in an environment that has already produced 2 confirmed tornado touchdowns by radar. My advice to you would be seek shelter there in North Fulton County up towards Alpharetta along 400. Now, this is the area that we have the active tornado warning. It started fairly large when it was first issued. As the threat has diminished, its focus has been really heightened, and we've brought that warning area down. So the threat area now around Buckhead, where we're seeing that lofted debris signature again very clearly. Brian, this is an impressive look at what lofted debris from a tornado looks like on radar. Where we have this yellow and green, this is what we call very low correlation, meaning it's very random looking with debris lofted in the atmosphere. And we see that just south of Smith Elementary. There's the Lenox Marketplace. This is Piedmont Road. This is 400. In this area near and to the east of the Buckhead indication, right there in the center of Buckhead. So this is the spot where tornado is on the ground, picking up some debris, lofting into the atmosphere. So if you're around Roxborough Road, these locations just to the east, there's North Druid Hills Road. These are the locations that are likely next to be impacted by this tornado. So there's Habersham Road passing near and just to your south. Now, let's drag the map back just a little bit so we can highlight these areas that are just moments from being impacted by the tornado. If we look a little bit farther to the east, so along Buford Highway up towards Doraville, there's the radar indication of the tornado over Buckhead now, tracking now to the northeast, moving in the Doraville direction. So if you're anywhere between Buckhead and Doraville, talking Brookhaven, North Atlanta, Chamblee, Northwoods, off towards Doraville, a tornado likely imminent for you, and if it holds together into Pittsburgh in about 12 minutes. So let me reset this. Here's what you need to do if you're along this path where likely tornado damage is occurring and more will occur. Here's what you do right now, immediately. Lowest level of your house. If you have a basement, that's where you go. That's your first choice. Then you get to an interior room away from windows. You want to do 2 things. Get away from flying debris, flying glass. That's the reason to get away from windows. The interior room is important because the more walls you can put between you and the exterior of the building, the more safe you are from flying debris and building damage. And that's important that you do that right now. Lowest level, away from windows, interior room. Oftentimes that's a basement, hallway, closet, windowless bathroom. Those are usually the best choices. And we're going to continue to watch this track towards the east. The tornado warning in effect until 2:15. Brian, we have a new severe thunderstorm warning in this area that includes North Fulton, where we were indicating that rotation up there. Not a tornado warning, but still the potential for some damaging wind gusts. Brian?
And the Weather Service says they're watching it closely, just like we are. That's that area near Alpharetta, Johns Creek, as Brad mentioned. There's not a tornado warning there now. There's a severe thunderstorm warning, but this line already has had a history of producing at least 2 radar-confirmed tornadoes. That's the environment we're in right now, Brad. So really not a bad idea in North Fulton County to go ahead and take those tornado precautions anyway, because we have had that sign on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar, debris being lofted. As we take a look at the 3D mode of Storm Tracker 2 HD radar here, I think we'll continue to watch that as we scan through these storms and see if we have any hints of any hail or we can see that debris lofted. But again, you can see our setup right now, this line of powerful thunderstorms right along Georgia 400 now, North Fulton County, South Forsyth County. There's no tornado warning now, Brad, but those are areas we really want you to pay close attention right now.
Yeah, so let's do 2 things. Let's, Brian, go in close to that spot in North Fulton County we're watching, and then reset it for the folks in Buckhead and to the north and east. So this is the bowing around Johns Creek and Alpharetta, an indication of very strong, potentially damaging straight-line wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. But what Brian and I have been watching, and he said he just heard from the Weather Service, this is something they're watching very carefully as well, is this green and red. This is some broad rotation. We're going to watch for 2 things. We're going to watch for it to become more concentrated with the green and red right next to each other, and we're going to watch for it to intensify. But this is a rotating thunderstorm, but not quite to the level of tornado development yet, but that could be happening. So for those of you around Johns Creek, my advice would be to seek shelter as if it were a tornado, although we're not seeing that indication quite yet. They could spin up very quickly, and so you would be well advised to seek shelter just in case. We do have tornado confirmation by radar by way of lofted debris around Buckhead. Now, the worst of it is now pushing east of Buckhead and into the northern parts of DeKalb County. So Northeast Expressway, that's just another name for I-85. This is the perimeter. So here's Spaghetti Junction, there's Doraville, this is Buford Highway, and it's in this area where we have had and continue to show some rotation. It's a little more broad than it was earlier. Hopefully that's a sign that we could see some weakening with this, but it's this general area where we have some rotation. Brian, let's go over to the CC mode again and see if we can isolate any lofted debris signature. Yeah, we still see it here. Again, as Brian pointed out, it lags about 5 minutes at least between the tornado touching down and that radar picking up. So what we're looking at is the worst of the weather likely right about here, and over the last few minutes, the lofted debris indicated in this location. So there's that little bit of a lag time, but this is important information for us because it shows us the spot where the debris has been picked up by a tornado and pulled up in the atmosphere, and that's around Buckhead, now moving through the northern part of DeKalb County. We have a severe thunderstorm warning now for Troup County around LaGrange. We have had a tornado warning that remains in effect here just to the west of the Georgia state line near West Point. That tornado warning has not been extended into Georgia, has not been included for Troup County, but it also is one of those areas that we're watching very carefully. So heads up for those of you around LaGrange as well. We'll continue to watch that. The worst of the weather now, northern DeKalb County, North Fulton County, moving into western Gwinnett and moving into southwestern sections of Forsyth County. We'll include southeastern Cherokee County in that as well. This is where the worst of the weather is in a very broad sense, and then two spots within that we're watching carefully. One near Johns Creek and one now just to the east of Buckhead where we're seeing some rotation, and this one, an active tornado warning for another about 10 minutes is when it's scheduled to expire. So there's that broad rotation east of Alpharetta, north of Johns Creek. This area certainly one of the spots that is very likely to have some damaging straight line wind gusts, and potentially this could develop into another tornado. So this is Highway 19, that's 400 through Fulton and into Forsyth County up in towards Cumming. This is hard to pick out. Is that 141 there?
141,
right. Near and just to the east of Johns Creek. So heads up around Swanee, Buford, up to the Buford Dam. You're about to get hit hard with this system that has the likelihood to cause some wind damage and even the potential for some tornado spin-ups with that as it spreads towards the east. So here we are in Gainesville. There's Buford. Here's Cumming. The worst of the weather is going to pass likely just to the south of Cumming, but still some trees down, power lines down, possibility for you. Moving into Big Creek now in about a minute. Of course, Big Creek near Alpharetta, one of those spots that floods often, floods first, and certainly with this very heavy rain on top of the rain we got yesterday, could see some flooding around Big Creek and Alpharetta. This storm is moving towards Oscarville in 19 minutes, Flowery Branch in about 20, Oakwood about 24 minutes from you. Continue on to Black Shear Place in 25 minutes, Chicopee in 28, also about 28 minutes if it holds together into Lakeshore Estate. So we've got a picture now of I-285, Buford Highway. This is the area that we're tracking the storm now, and that's what it looks like. Look at all that water on the road. So we have wet roads, no surprise there. But one of the big concerns with this heavy rain is ponding on the roads, especially areas with poor drainage. We've seen drains clogged with a lot of leaves this time of year. But even if the drains were all completely clear, this kind of torrential downpour just piles up faster than the water could drain away. So my advice would be to stay off the roads until this storm passes. As you can see here, we have some wet weather across. Which view is this?
This is our Midtown camera.
Midtown camera there. So we're looking off towards the connector with the heavy rain in that spot. So these storms continue to track towards the east. A possibility of some rotation. Certainly we are seeing some broad rotation here south of Cumming, west of Buford. So damaging wind gusts, torrential downpours, some occasional rumbles of thunder with this and an active severe thunderstorm warning for the potential for wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. Brian?
And Brad, you've been showing that circulation on radar really starting to weaken, although we've been still seeing that debris loft and maybe not as prominent a signature as we were a little bit earlier. Let me go ahead and pan Storm Tracker 2 HD radar down a little bit for this tornado warning that continues for another 8 minutes or so till 2:15 North Fulton County, headed into DeKalb County. But checking with the Weather Service now, as you've been showing us, Brad, that circulation not as well defined, and right now there are no plans to continue that warning beyond 2:15, either into DeKalb County or folks wondering about Gwinnett County. If you live in South Gwinnett, something to watch certainly, but right now no anticipation for that tornado warning to continue into Gwinnett County beyond 2:15.
Well, that's good news. So we're going to stay with you live until 2:15 if this warning does expire as expected. That's good news in a sense for Norcross, Peachtree Corners, Lilburn, western, southwestern sections of Gwinnett County. And in Lawrenceville, the rain is just beginning, heavier rain moving your way. But the rotation not as strong as it was. So here's the tornado warning area. It's about to move out of the warning area as this area of rotation and this tornado warning scheduled to expire. The rotation is there, but weakening. If you're in Lilburn, certainly you're getting hit with the heavy rain and the gusty winds. The tornado threat for you has gone down significantly as compared to what we've been tracking across Buckhead and northern sections of DeKalb County. But remember, these can weaken and then spin right back up just as quickly. So that's something we're going to be watching for very carefully around Tucker. Even if we don't have tornado winds, we can still have damaging straight-line winds in excess of 60 miles an hour. And the National Weather Service has just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning instead of extending the tornado warning. And that includes DeKalb County around Stone Mountain and out towards Gwinnett County. That's until 2:45, the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, for much of Gwinnett and down to parts of DeKalb County around Stone Mountain. So the tornado warning scheduled to expire here in about 6 minutes at 2:15. We're going to stay on with you at least until then. But as we have these rotating thunderstorms, the potential for some spin-ups can happen very quickly, and we'll have to keep you updated on that through the afternoon. Brian?
Yeah, Brad, we've been checking with Fulton County schools and really school districts all across North Georgia. This round of severe weather comes in, and we've just gotten some new information that Fulton County schools, as this potential for strong thunderstorms, certainly whether we see another tornado or not, heavy rain, gusty wind, dangerous to be out on the roads. Well, if you're expecting a student home from Fulton County schools, maybe elementary, middle, or high school today, they're going to hold them until the weather passes, until at least about 3:15, that hold on dismissal today for Fulton County schools. So that's something I want you to be aware of if you're expecting your child home, if you're expecting your student home today, maybe just a little bit later, as just for a safety precaution, Brad, probably a very good decision by Fulton County schools with such strong storms coming through.
No question about it. It's a little inconvenience for a whole lot of safety. We keep the kids in the schools until this line of storms moves through. It's going to be wet through much of the afternoon, but the threat for severe weather is right here along this leading edge. So we're going to see conditions improve in Fulton County and the western metro, already seeing some improvement, and that will continue over the next few hours. So the tornado warning scheduled to expire at 2:15. As Brian and I showed you, the rotation has already weakened quite a bit. So it appears that the tornado threat is winding down as it moves to the east. However, we're going to stay on. I said we're going to leave at 2:15. I think, Brian, it's probably prudent that we stay on until at least about 2:30 or so. We're going to stay on a little bit longer because we do have areas of still some circulating thunderstorms, although no warnings are currently in effect. And meteorologist Brian Monahan indicating one of those here. So this is 400. There's Alpharetta at Johns Creek. It's just to the east of you, south of Cumming. Here's Lake Lanier, Buford Dam, Buford, that area. This is some broad rotation, and we're going to watch this for the potential for not just damaging wind gusts, but the possibility this could spin up into another one of these isolated tornadoes. We've already seen 2 thunderstorms that have spun up into 2 separately confirmed tornadoes.
Brad,
yes.
We have a new tornado warning. I want to pass along right now, just getting this from the Weather Service now. This is going to be radar indicated for Forsyth, Gwinnett, Hall County until 2:45, located near Brookwood, near Cumming. So we're talking about south Forsyth County in the area of around Georgia 400. We've been watching this for the last several minutes.
And that makes sense because one of the things we talked about, we were going to look to see if we could get that green and red closer together. Well, we've got that now where we've got wind blowing away from the radar and towards the radar right next to each other. And that is an indication of a rotating thunderstorm, but the rotation is at such a small scale that it indicates to us that there's likely tornado development in this area just north of Sharon Elementary School. Here's Haw Creek Elementary School, White Oak Elementary School, so it's just to the southwest of those locations, just southwest of the Buford Dam. And here's 400 South Forsyth High School. So for those of you in and around South Forsyth High School, this rotating thunderstorm possible tornado touchdown is passing just to your south and southeast. It's in this area here. So for South Forsyth High School, it looks like you're just in the clear from this developing tornado. However, up towards Haw Creek Elementary, White Oak Elementary, around Buford Dam, there's Buford Dam Road. You are in the path of a developing tornado. You need to seek shelter immediately. This new tornado warning until 2:45 for Forsyth, Hall, and parts of Gwinnett County as well. It's here. It's really a fairly small area geographically, but within this, quite a storm system developing. So in Oscarville in 15 minutes, 16 to Flowery Branch. If it holds together, it very well could for 20 minutes to Oakwood, Blackshear Place in 21, Chicopee in 23 minutes, 24 minutes to Lakeshore Estates as this storm continues to track towards the east. So here we are. There's coming. There's 400. So we're looking at parts of southeastern Forsyth County, the northernmost parts or northwesternmost parts of Gwinnett County. So it's just to the north of Suwanee at the bottom of your screen. There's Buford. Buford included in the tornado warning. And then this is the southwestern tip, if you will, of Hall County near the Buford Dam, the southwestern part of Lake Lanier. For the neighborhoods and communities that surround the southern end of Lake Lanier, you're in this tornado warning with the potential for damaging winds and tornado touchdowns here. Here's South Forsyth High School. Let's look at the lofted debris signature, Brian, and see if we can pick that up. It does look like we are starting to see that right here, about midway between South Forsyth and Sharon Elementary Schools. Very populated area, unfortunately, if you're along the path here or if you're just to the north and east. So Haw Creek Elementary, White Oak Elementary, the neighborhoods and communities surrounding that, you need to seek shelter immediately. The advice for you is lowest level of your house, a basement if you have one, away from windows, an interior room. Again, lowest level, away from windows, interior room. That's what you need to do. You need to do it immediately. So here's those tips again. Go to your basement if you have one. Lowest level if you don't have a basement, the ground floor. Stay away from windows. You need to be away from the lofted debris, the debris flying through, the broken glass oftentimes causes some of the worst injuries. And then an interior room is important because the more walls you can put between yourself and your family and the outside of the building, the more protection you have, the more safe you will be. So we're indicating that lofted debris, as you saw with the yellow, surrounded by the pink. Now we're back to the reflectivity mode of the radar, showing where the heaviest rain is near and to the south of Forsyth High School. And it's this area where we have the rotation. It's this area where radar indicating now lofted debris. And meteorologist Brian Monahan and I tracking this, and we believe there is likely a tornado on the ground that will be touching down as it tracks off towards Sugar Hill in 19 minutes. Buford about 23 minutes from you. Rest Haven about 28 minutes if it holds together that long. And it has that potential. The tornado warning in effect until 2:45. Brian, I want to give a wider view because we have some new information to give for the folks just down to the south. The tornado warning here that we've been tracking, including the Buckhead area, northern sections of DeKalb County, that has been allowed to expire. It just expired at 2:15. The tornado threat has come to an end now in this area. So around Buckhead, north sections of DeKalb County, the tornado threat over for you. The tornado warning has been dropped. For the rest of the area to the east, a severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for potential damaging straight-line winds. And as we zoom in here from Alpharetta to Cumming to Buford, in this view, this is where we have the rotation, the tornado touchdown indication right about here, just south of South Forsyth High School. But it's safely east of those of you around Alpharetta and North Fulton County, and just to the north and west of Sharon Elementary School. So this is Peachtree Parkway that stretches from South Forsyth High School southward. This is one of the areas where radar indicating tornado touchdown now and expected to continue to track towards the east. So here's Buford Highway, Haw Creek Elementary School, White Oak Elementary School. There's Whitehead Road, Sycamore Road. There's Peachtree Industrial Boulevard. This is the area that's in the path of this tornado. damaging winds, lofted debris, tornado touchdowns. These are all imminent. You need to seek shelter immediately. Here's Dave's Creek Elementary School. We've got that highlighted on the map. Unfortunately, it looks like this tornado passing very near Dave's Creek Elementary School, passing near just to the north of Sharon Elementary School. So now that the radar has updated, the lofted debris signature is not quite as clear, but it's there, and unfortunately, it's in this very populated area, centered over Dave's Creek Elementary School, Gilbert Road, Dave's Creek Road. There's Windermere Parkway. There's Buford Highway. This is the area where radar indicating some tornado touchdowns, and it's tracking towards the north and east. So if you live in any of these neighborhoods and you're wondering to yourself, do I really need to seek shelter? The answer for you is yes, absolutely. Lowest level of your house, away from windows, interior room. Rotation here near the southern end of the dam, or of the lake at the dam. There's Buford. This is the rotation within the overall thunderstorm, and the lofted debris just back towards the west. Remember, there's a little lag time. It's not immediate from the tornado touching down to the debris getting thousands of feet up in the atmosphere where the radar can pick it up. That process can take about 5 minutes. So when we look at lofted debris on the ground and the rotation a little bit out ahead, that makes sense because we have the... Okay, and Brian, let's go to Cobb County. We have Dana Pierce from the Cobb County Police Department joining us now live on the phone. Dana, what can you tell us about damage that's occurred in Cobb County?
Yes, really what we're seeing now is really confined to both the south end of the county, that being the Mableton area, more or less up in a diagonal to our East Cobb area. We have reports of trees and wires down, more specifically in Mableton area, that being Discovery Boulevard. We also have had trees and lines down in the area in East Cobb at Providence and Roswell Road. We're looking at some roof damage to some of the buildings that are down on the south end of the county near Lee Industrial, and there's even a report of a minor gas leak down in that area as well. So we're asking the public to use caution while some of the pooling is kind of getting off of the roads and making that safer to drive. In the meantime, we're just asking people to use due regard as they travel throughout the county here in Cobb.
All right, Dana Pierce from Cobb County Police, thank you very much for that report, and good advice to just wait till that gets cleaned up. You want to make sure that you stay away from the power lines. Assume that a power line is live if it's down. The rain continues in Cobb, but the severe weather threat has come to an end for Cobb County. So thank you very much for joining us and for that update. The threat now is just south of Cumming, moving into northeastern sections of Gwinnett County, really not northeastern, more like north central. So what I'm talking about is the Buford area here, just to the south and east of Cumming, the southern end of Lake Lanier. And heads up for those of you around Flowery Branch, you're next in the path of this rotating thunderstorm where we had the potential for more tornado touchdowns. We've had radar indicated, radar confirmed tornado touchdowns this afternoon, and by that we mean the radar indicating the rotation signature of a tornado and able to pick up the debris picked up by the tornado and then lofted up into the atmosphere. And we've been able to pick that up with this particular tornado as well. The lofted debris signature has weakened quite a bit. That, Brian, is good news. It could be an indication of some weakening. Brian?
Yeah, that's what I'm checking with here with the Weather Service. We have an open conversation with them throughout these severe weather events as we kind of coordinate these severe weather warnings. And the latest I'm getting from the Weather Service right now is they're seeing exactly what we are, that rotation, that circulation, and certainly that sign of lofted debris in our correlation coefficient field that Brad's been telling you about is not as prominent as it was earlier. The rotation has weakened. That said, there's no indication just yet that they're going to allow this warning to expire earlier than 2:45. So if you're in Forsyth County, Hall County, Gwinnett County, as Brad mentioned, north central Gwinnett County, especially in that area near Sugar Hill, Buford Dam, as you make your way up toward Flowery Branch, this is the time to be in that lowest level of your home. A basement is best if you don't have a basement, a closet, a room without windows, a bathroom, somewhere where you can protect yourself from any flying debris. As again, we've had at least 2 radar confirmed tornadoes so far today. And certainly that potential continues here over the next several minutes as this line of storms and certainly very heavy rain and strong wind gusts, as you heard the officer there from Cobb County mention, lots of trees down and power lines down, and it will continue to be quite stormy, Brad, as this line makes its way to the east because it's moving so fast and there's just so much wind in the lowest levels of the atmosphere right now.
Well, that and, Brian, unfortunately, this is moving through some very highly populated areas. We tracked this through Cobb, through Fulton, through DeKalb, now parts of Forsyth, Gwinnett, and moving into Hall County. So we've had radar confirmed tornadoes moving through some of the most populated parts of Metro Atlanta, and the threat continues now in this location southeast of Cumming, just to the west and northwest of Buford. So moving into Rest Haven in about 5 minutes, Flowery Branch about 11 minutes from you, and then if it holds together, Oakwood in 16 minutes, 18 minutes to Blackshear Place, Chestnut Mountain 19 minutes, Chicopee 21 minutes before the leading edge of this rotating part of the thunderstorm gets to your location. The rotating portion of the storm, of course, is the portion of the storm that can produce tornado touchdowns. So we have widespread heavy rain, damaging wind potential. The yellow flashing polygons here, we call them, are active severe thunderstorm warnings. Anywhere in here along this leading edge of this heavy rain, we could have wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. That can take down trees, branches, power lines. We've already had that report from Cobb County, and I suspect we're going to have many more reports of that type of damage across parts of Fulton, DeKalb, Gwinnett, Hall, Forsyth counties here as we head through the afternoon. We have severe thunderstorm warnings now up down to the southwest along I-85 in Troup County, and Brian zooming in this area that extends from, say, Hall County down through Gwinnett County. This is the worst of the weather right now. So from Snellville, just to the east of Lilburn, towards Lawrenceville to Buford, and then just north of Buford, the rotation where we have had some radar indications of tornado touchdowns tracking towards the northeast. Heads up for those of you around Flowery Branch. Improving conditions around Cumming, Alpharetta, Roswell, Sandy Springs, downtown, some heavy rain, but no severe threat right now. Fairburn down towards Tyrone and Peachtree City, very heavy rain, strong wind gusts. Not seeing any rotation here, so the tornado threat there is low around Peachtree City, Fayetteville. But look at these winds, 25, 27 miles an hour. Gusts in this area, certainly over 40 to 45 miles an hour would be likely here in the South Metro. So Fayetteville, Jonesboro off towards McDonough along I-75. Steady, moderate rain now, heavier rain, and strong wind gusts headed your way. Here's a storm track along the leading edge of this squall in the South Metro. Moving towards Shake Rag now, it's right over Peachtree City into Turin in 2 minutes. 4 minutes to Clover, Kenwood about 6 minutes from you, and then into Fayetteville about 10 minutes, Lake Terra in 13, Jonesboro about 14 minutes from you as it continues that track towards the north and east. Let's get back up, Brian, to the north and the area where we have the active tornado warning, because I want to check back in for the folks in Forsyth, Hall, and Gwinnett County where we have that active tornado warning until 2:45. It's right here in this area. A lot of rain. Certainly, we'll look at the couple of things. We're going to look at the winds with this, and we're going to look at what we call the correlation coefficient for that lofted debris. So the rotation here, broad. We're not seeing a whole lot of red. You may recall earlier we saw the red and green right next to each other trigger this tornado warning. Brian's indicating some rotation in the area just to the south and east. So we're talking east of Suwanee. This is the 85 and 985 split. So it's along I-85 west of Brazelton. Some broad rotation here. We've seen this through the afternoon. Broad rotation with these thunderstorms to begin. It spins up, it tightens up, and tornadoes develop. So this is the area we're watching next for the possibility of tornado development. We're not seeing that quite yet, but it's a possibility. So I'd give you a heads up. Just to the north of Decula, just west of Brazelton, you need to be on high alert now for the possibility of strengthening and development with this part of the thunderstorm that could become a tornado. That's a look at it here. Certainly some heavy rain and some gusty winds with this. That's going to lead to ponding on the roads. It could lead to a rise in streams, creeks, and river. And this is that correlation coefficient where we're looking at the possibility of lofted debris. And we're not seeing that signature. What we look for is in this, what we call it kind of a sea of magenta, a bullseye of some yellow or even some green. So we have a little bit of that, kind of more of a noisy pattern. That's not an indication of lofted debris. So that's some good news for this location where the active tornado warning is in effect. It looks like we're seeing some weakening with at least the organization of this system near and to the north of Beaufort. So we're going to track this back in time. And as you brought it back, Brian, we could see very clearly where that rotation was. With the green and the red, and there it was developing to the east of Alpharetta just a few minutes ago, and it was strong, quite a bit of rotation, and then it's collapsed there, but we're starting to see it redevelop down to the south and east. So the tornado warning remains in effect for Forsyth County, but let me give you a heads up. Forsyth County, you're in the clear. There's no tornado threat for you anymore. Tornado warning remains in effect for this northern sliver of Gwinnett and southwestern sections of Hall County. Your threat continues, but it's much lower now, so good news there. And then near and just to the north of Decula, west of Brazelton, west of Auburn, this is the area that we're going to watch for some potential development in the minutes ahead. Brian?
Yeah, continuing to watch that area in northeast Gwinnett County, Decula, Brazelton, Auburn. Just a great idea today, again, even though we don't have a tornado warning in that part of the area, because these storms have had histories of producing a tornado, I'm going to tell you, just go ahead and take those tornado precautions now anyway. We've seen the debris lofted on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar. We're not seeing it right now with this particular storm. I'm going to go ahead and turn on that correlation coefficient Brad was mentioning again. Where we see those pockets of orange and yellow, we'd like to see them, if we're going to have potentially a tornado, you'd see more of a circular pattern. So this is more of a noisy field, something that's not very organized, so not a sign necessarily of debris that's lofted in the air, but something we're going to be watching very closely. But as we go ahead and turn on our velocity mode, once again, Brad, again, that red and green getting very close to each other again. And what we've seen with this line, this history of these kinks in the line kind of spinning up and creating some new circulations. In fact, here's the new radar sweep right now showing an area we're definitely going to be watching pretty closely here. This is going to be along Spout Springs Road and in the Auburn area north of University Parkway, northeast Gwinnett County, headed into Jackson County, South Hall County. Just want to give you a heads up. That's an area, no warning right now, no tornado warning, but an area we're watching closely. Yeah, this is looks very similar to what we've seen with the last 3 tornado warnings. It started with some broad rotation like this. We see the red and green get right up next to each other as we're starting to see now, and the intensity of the wind is increasing. So this is the area Brian's indicating with the telestrator, the wind direction here blowing away from the radar site towards the radar site. And when you have that right next to each other, what we can infer as meteorologists is rotation in this location. So we're watching for this, for intensification and for some contraction of it, for getting closer together, more concentrated rotation. And for that reason, we believe there's a decent chance that a tornado could be developing here to the northwest of Winder. So heads up in eastern sections, northeastern Gwinnett County in towards Barrow County. Brian, got some information? Brad, and it's just going to pop up on here on our radar here in just a second, but I want to give you a heads up. Already, no tornado warning, but the National Weather Service has just issued a severe thunderstorm warning for that exact area we've been mentioning here over the last few minutes. Banks County, Barrow County, Gwinnett, Hall, and Jackson County until 3:15. And as they mentioned, as we've been mentioning throughout the day, a tornado is possible in any one of these severe thunderstorms. So something we have to watch very carefully. So tornado warning is still in effect for a few more minutes farther to the north, but radar indicating that it is much weaker now, so that's good news. We're getting some live pictures in from Cobb County where these storms came through about an hour ago. On the camera, and there's some damage in and around Cobb County, and so you can see, look at it there. Ross Cavett is now live in Cobb County. Ross, what are you seeing there in your location?
Well, we are currently at Discovery Boulevard, Lee Industrial, and Mableton Parkway, where those roads come to a convergence. There's a lot of damage here that we're seeing by the QT. It looks like there was reports of rotation as we were heading down the interstate toward this area, and we came here and there's been a lot of damage, obviously centered around this quick trip. Parts of a warehouse. This is a heavily warehouse district. Looks like it's in the roadway here. Power lines are down everywhere. There are trees down, and the interesting thing to note as we look at them all around, that they're down in different directions. Some are pointing to the west, others are down pointing to the east, which may be a clue. Traffic lights are also ripped down at this intersection. Police are here directing traffic. Again, as we are on 285 near here, there were reports from police officers on the scene that they did see some signs of rotation in the area, and this is the end result of that. A lot of trees down the intersection, all messed up. And Lee Industrial, south of this intersection, is closed. They have trees down and possibly a gas leak caused by those trees uprooting some gas lines. So this area is going to be a traffic nightmare for quite a while.
Ross, thank you very much for that report. You can see there the wet conditions, the damage, the wind damage, and as Ross described, trees down in different directions, kind of a classic signature of rotating wind damage, which is another level of confirmation that what we were dealing with then in Cobb County was a tornado. We had what we call a radar confirmed tornado with lofted debris and rotation, and now the threat has shifted away from Cobb County to the east. So radar indicating some rotation in this location just west of Brazelton. This is I-85. This is 985. There's Auburn, just to get your bearings here. And a rotation in this location where we have the red and green together. We have an active severe thunderstorm warning and watching for some more development and the possibility of a tornado warning. Brian, I want to point out for the folks that see at the bottom of the screen, Forsyth Hall, Gwinnett County, that tornado warning remains in effect in 2:45. But the threat has come to an end. Why don't we send a note over there?
It's actually just as you speak, Brad. It has just been canceled, that tornado warning for Forsyth and Gwinnett. Right. Very quickly, though, Brad, knew what we were just pointing out here, that tight circulation, I-85, Buford to Brazelton, likely strong wind, but again, they are watching this, and we are watching this very carefully for the possibility of a brief tornado, a brief spin up here, and that would be in the area not far from Chateau Alon. Okay, so no active tornado warnings right now, no tornado warnings currently in effect. The polygon on our map will drop away in just a moment. We've dropped our banner. There are some severe thunderstorm warnings that remain in effect. And really our concern is this location around Auburn and Brazelton and just to the west along I-85 coming out of Gwinnett County and towards the east. That's the area that has rotation and the potential for some tornado development. Now, Brian, we're getting a new tornado warning here in Meriwether County, southwest of Greenville. Appears this is the area of rotation right there. How long is this in effect for, Brian? Yeah, I think that's the one we were watching a little while ago as it crossed Alabama state line into Troup County, now in Meriwether County. That tornado warning for Meriwether County is going to go until, let's see here, it's going to go until 3 o'clock this afternoon, about 9 miles southwest of Greenville. So if you live south of Greenville, South Meriwether County, you need to be taking your tornado precautions right now.
And those tornado precautions are lowest level of your house, a basement if you have one, away from windows to an interior room. Lowest level of your house, away from windows to get away from broken glass and flying debris. And then an interior room means more walls, more building between you and the outside. Adds another or several other layers of protection. So that's good advice. Tornado warning, southern sections of Meriwether County now until 3 o'clock. This is southwest of Greenville, moving towards Durand in 3 minutes, Harris City in 11, Raleigh about 17 minutes from you, off towards Langdon. If it holds together for 21 minutes, it'll make it there, and Betson 22, Woodbury in about 23 minutes. So again, Meriwether County, new tornado warning in effect until 3 p.m. It's this rotating part of the thunderstorm southwest of Greenville in this area. So let's go through and check out the winds, the lofted debris signature. We're not seeing that. This is kind of noisy on the edge of this precipitation. That's not really telling us any meteorological information. We're not seeing the lofted debris signature, but we are seeing the rotation. But keep in mind, it takes several minutes, at least about 5 minutes from a tornado to touch down, for that debris to be lofted up in the atmosphere high enough for the radar to sweep by and pick it up. So tornado touching down now would not give the lofted debris. Okay, we're getting Fulton County. Are they released now? Okay, Fulton County Elementary School students being released now, I'm being told. That's different from what we were told a few minutes ago, that school was going to be delayed. So let's confirm that if we could, and let me know exactly what schools are happening when in Fulton County. But getting reports now that Fulton County Elementary School is being released now. At the same time, continuing to track this tornado warning southwest of Greenville and Meriwether County, Hunter's Cross Road, there's Harris City, here's Highway 18, rotation in this location. And what I was mentioning a moment ago is it takes a few minutes from the tornado touching down for us to get that lofted debris signature on radar. So that's something we're going to be monitoring here in this location, Hunter's Cross Road, Harris City, there's Roosevelt Highway, White House Parkway, Raleigh Road out towards Raleigh and Woodbury. These are the locations where we could expect some damaging winds and the potential for some tornado touchdowns. You need to seek shelter immediately here in the southern parts of Meriwether County, where the potential for tornado touchdowns still exists. Let's go a little farther to the north. Over the South Metro, no active warnings, very heavy rain, gusty winds, 40, 45 miles an hour, very likely from Morrow to Riverdale, Jonesboro, Fayetteville, moving towards Stockbridge and McDonough over the next 45 minutes or so. And with this, certainly could bring down some small trees, some branches, some power lines. Inman in about 4 minutes, Hastings in 7, Stockbridge about 8 minutes from you, Lovejoy in 10. Already raining in all these spots, I recognize, but that's the time of arrival of the heaviest rain and the gustiest winds. This is a live picture from Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where very heavy rain continues to fall. The winds are gusty. We have the low ceilings there, and you can see the jets there just lined up on the tarmac. And then farther to the north, going up into Atlanta, in the heart of the city, inside the perimeter, I want to show you from Atlanta to the west, improving conditions dramatically. In fact, much of Fulton County, although getting some rain, the severe weather threat has come to an end. We still have some heavy rain in parts of DeKalb County, Stone Mountain, certainly off into Gwinnett County, and then farther to the north, up towards Alpharetta, some steadier rain. And the greatest risk now for wind damage with this part of the storm is in this active severe thunderstorm warning that's moving from Winder through Barrow County and continuing to spread towards the east. The active tornado warning we have is here for the southern half approximately of Meriwether County. Here's Greenville, just to the south and west. Very heavy rain moving in the direction of Woodbury, and we've seen some rotation in this part of the storm over the last few minutes. So what we're looking at here, some green, some red, some rotation within this thunderstorm, and the possibility of some tornado touchdowns there south of the Greenville area. With the telestrator, Brian is showing this broad rotation just southwest of Greenville. We have Katie now on I-75 in Cobb County. Is that right, Katie?
Yeah, exactly right, Brad. So we're currently heading on 75 north, and of course traffic, it is what it is whenever you're dealing with wet roadways. There are a lot of people. We're currently going about 45 miles per hour. It's fairly safe right now, but there are a lot of folks either going too fast or too slow. But all around, here's what we're facing right now. So we're looking at a lot of wet roadways, obviously the ponding on the roadways. We just had the heaviest rain push through this particular part of Cobb County. We're actually approaching exit 258, which would be the Cobb Energy Center. So that way you kind of get an idea of exactly where we are exiting Fulton into Cobb County. So that's the section that we're heading towards right now. But at this point, traffic's flowing along smoothly. All around, we haven't been dealing with, at least where we are, not significant wind gusts. So that's certainly good news. We will continue to travel toward the north on 75. And here you go. Here's some ponding. There's a good example right there. Just, take it easy out there today, and we'll get another check of these roadways coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, meteorologist Katie Walls, reporting live in Severe Weather Chaser 2 in Cobb County, where heavy rain continues to fall, and we've already had some reports of wind damage and apparent tornado damage in parts of southern Cobb County, and that was meteorologist Katie Walls reporting live. Now we're going to go up to Roswell. Reporter Mike Pachenik is joining us now live on the phone from Roswell. Mike, what are you seeing across North Fulton County right now?
Brad, we are on Coleman Road in Roswell right now. We were responding to what went out as a report of a tree on a house. We just arrived at this location here, and it's actually just a large tree that had gone across a driveway. So that's good news. No structural damage at that location. We're hearing widespread reports of trees down in Sandy Springs, in Roswell, wires down as well in Sandy Springs, particularly along the Johnson Ferry corridor going into East Cobb, North Mill Road, Riverside Drive on the western side of Sandy Springs. I want to update you on the situation in Forsyth County as well. I've been on the phone with a fire chief up there, Despite the weather that moved through, they have very little damage to report, just a traffic light out near McFarland Parkway and an injury accident on 141. But thankfully, no damage of note or to report at this point in Forsyth County. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation here around North Fulton and South Forsyth and get back to you.
All right, Mike Patena, thank you very much for that report from North Fulton County, Roswell, Alpharetta. Numerous trees down, we understand, and certainly power lines down expected where those trees fall. So we thank you for that report. You could see the widespread rain just soaking. It's beneficial rainfall. None of us want this damage, but this rain that follows the severe weather is beneficial, and it continues now across North Fulton and back into Cobb County. Ross Cavett has joined us live from Cobb County with some reports of some damage. He's got some new information now. Ross, what do you have?
Well, this time we are ready to give you some new information. This is where Hollowell Parkway would go if it goes into Atlanta. Mableton Parkway here, Lee Industrial Road. If you look at this intersection, you notice one thing. There are no stoplights, no traffic lights at all. They've all been blown off. Every single one of them, as whatever moved through here about 20 to 30 minutes ago. If you pan over to the right, you can see up Discovery Boulevard and Lee Boulevard, lots of trees down. Across the way, there's appears to be a sign or some sort of part of a building that came down, taking power lines with it. It's also caused a gas leak here as well. They have Lee Industrial closed from Mableton Parkway here down toward Six Flags Boulevard. No reports of injury so far, though we look across the street at the QT. There are trees down on cars that are in the parking lot, but we haven't seen any fire and rescue near there, so we assume those were just parked there. Nobody was in them, but certainly a lot of damage here to the Quick Trip, to the intersection, to the infrastructure around here. And as I mentioned during my last hit, one thing you notice is that all the trees that are down in different directions. There were police officers here near this area who reported a wide circulation before this thing hit. So obviously they'll have some weather experts come here to determine exactly what blew through here, but there's a lot of damage here. And with the gas leak combined with the power outages and the physical damage here, this intersection will partially be closed at least for the next several hours.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got a new tornado warning now, Barrow, Clark, and Jackson counties. This is the storm that meteorologist Brian Monahan and I have been watching the rotation. It was fairly broad. It's certainly strengthened now. So new tornado warning. It's right here just west of Jefferson, and it's continuing now to develop and track towards the east-northeast. So we're going to go through, highlight the spots where the tornado is developing, where it's headed, and give you folks in the path a heads up on what you need to do and when. So here we have some broad rotation in this general area, but starting to tighten up, and right here around Brazelton, one of the spots where we have some rotation indicated by radar, and then also back towards the west around Winder, we've got some indication of some strong winds and some rotation in that area, and it's continuing to track towards the east, off towards Jefferson. So Barrow, Clark, Jackson counties under a new tornado warning, and then separately from that, we have another tornado warning in southern sections of Meriwether County. That's going to continue here over the next several minutes. So here's what we're looking at. This is County Line Elementary School, Holsenbeck Elementary, just to the north of Winder. These are areas that we're watching very carefully, up towards Brazelton to the north. Within this area, damaging winds and tornado touchdowns a possibility as we take this track off towards the east-northeast. This is what we call correlation coefficient. This is the tool we can use to highlight, pinpoint, and pick out lofted debris. We're not seeing that here. What we would see is the pinks with a little bullseye, usually very small and definite, not this noisy pattern that we see out ahead of the rain. So that's low signal to noise ratio, really not telling us anything meteorological, just some showers out in that spot. But this is the area where we have this new tornado warning in effect, and it's passing near and just to the north of Winder. It's going to pass near Jefferson, so we're talking Arcade in 12 minutes, Clarksboro in 16 minutes, and off towards Brockton in 18 minutes. So it'll continue to center in 22 minutes, holds together to Nicholson in 23, and Sanford in 28 minutes. Here's the new tornado warning. It's in effect for another half hour until 3:15 as the storm marches through parts of Barrow, Clark, and Jackson counties. Again, until 3:15. The warned area we're showing here now in red, and this is I-85 just to the north of Jefferson, but the worst of the weather is south of I-85 primarily. Here's Brazelton. There's Jefferson, there's Winder, heads up around Nicholson. The rain just starting to move in your location, but all of this is continuing to track towards the east-northeast. There's State Highway 8, State Highway 211. Auburn, things are improving for you. Decula, the worst of the weather has now passed to the east for you. The rain will continue for a while. The severe weather threat is east of Decula and continuing to track towards the east. So here's Highway 8, there's Winder, 211, Brazelton, along and south of I-85 where we're highlighting now. You need to seek shelter immediately. Lowest level of your house, away from windows, into an interior room as this continues its track towards the northeast. Brian?
Yeah, reports now with that new tornado warning in Clark County. Tornado sirens now sounding on the campus of UGA in Athens. So if you're in Clark County now, Barrow County now, also around parts of Jackson County now, you need to be taking those tornado precautions. Lowest level of your home, interior room. If you don't have a basement, basement works best. Interior room, away from any windows where you could be in the line of some flying debris. We want you to be safe as this storm that has the potential of producing a tornado. I want to remind you, this is not a radar confirmed tornado yet, just a radar indicated. We're seeing some of that rotation just above the ground as I go ahead and put back on our velocity field on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar. Very broad circulation. I'll go ahead and draw it in here. The green colors, that's wind that's going back toward the radar. The red, pretty weak, coming back away from the radar, so that very weak sense of circulation, but not a very close touch of those red and green colors that we would see with a very well-defined circulation. Again, that's going to be along State Highway 8 in Winder. And Brad, before I send it back to you, want to update the tornado warning in Meriwether County has just been canceled. So we can go ahead and take that out of the banner there. Meriwether County, no longer a tornado warning.
Good news there is that storm, as we showed, has begun to weaken in Meriwether County, no longer a tornado threat for now. So you've indicated here near Winder the rotation. We also have some rotation developing here east of Brazelton along I-85. So you could see the tornado warning is a pretty wide area because right along that boundary we could see some spin-ups of tornadoes. So we're going to continue to watch that as it passes near into the south of Telmo, Jefferson just to the west. And I want to give a slightly wider view, Brian, so we could show Athens and how this is positioned relative to Athens. So I know a lot of folks watching around UGA or have family members out in UGA, and notice the tornado warning is just to the northwest of the Athens area. It looks like this storm, as it tracks towards the east-northeast, is going to stay north of Athens, but it's going to be close. So something we're going to watch very carefully. For those of you in and around UGA, you're going to want to watch this very carefully over the next 30 minutes or so as it tracks towards the east. This is the area, rotating thunderstorm. We have not had any indications of lofted debris, nor have we had any damage reports as of yet here around Winder, Jefferson, Brazelton. This is the area that has the potential, however, for those tornado touchdowns. Trying to look for lofted debris signature, not seeing it here. What we're looking at here is all rain primarily. Wouldn't be out of the question to have a little bit of small hail mixed in with this, but the hail, not a concern. The damaging wind gusts, straight line winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, a concern. Of course, tornado touchdowns a possibility. That's always a concern. And then some minor flooding, ponding on roads, where we're having some torrential downpours here along I-85. This is Highway 11 down towards Winder and Highway 8. We've had the very heavy rain, so ponding on roads, areas with poor drainage, a lot of drains clogged with leaves, really making the problem worse. Here's Pendergrass. There's West Jackson Middle School, just for some indicators. Anywhere in this location where we have some broad rotation, we have the possibility of tornado touchdowns. But unlike the tornado warnings we've been tracking so far this afternoon, this one has not shown that lofted debris signature. So at least as of now, we're not seeing any indication of a tornado on the ground, but we're highlighting this because tornado touchdown could very well be imminent. Now, a little farther to the southeast, for the rest of us in the metro area, we have very heavy rain from Lithonia, Rockdale County, moving towards Conyers now. That extends down towards Stockbridge. So certainly Clayton County, Henry County, very heavy rain in these locations as it tracks towards the east into Conyers. Conyers in 2 minutes, White House in 3, Millstead about 3 minutes from you off towards Flippin in 4, Kellytown in 10, Walnut Grove about 15 minutes before the worst of that weather gets to your location. Damaging wind gusts, certainly a possibility in this location. No warnings in effect, but we could have winds excess of 40 to 50 miles an hour, and that could bring down some small trees, some tree branches, and of course anytime you get trees and branches you get power lines coming down. That's a possibility in this area. And very heavy rain leads to ponding on the roads again. You'd be well advised to stay off the roads until that passes. Here we are in Greenville and Meriwether County, where the tornado warning has been canceled early because the rotation has diminished. The threat for tornado touchdowns has come to an end, but damaging wind gusts still a possibility in Upson County around Thomaston, Pike County, Zebulon back into Greenville, and then Brian's highlighting this little notch here of some rotation in this location. One of the spots we're going to watch very carefully for some possible wind damage and tornado development. Not out of the question as this tracks through eastern sections of Meriwether County and moving generally in the direction of Zebulon. Now, putting the counties on the map here that are under the tornado watch, why don't we just take off the radar for a moment? There you go. And you can see the tornado watch area, in effect until 6 p.m., has been dropped for the northwestern metro area. The tornado watch remains in effect from Hall through Forsyth, Fulton County, down towards Coweta County, and points to the south and east until 6 p.m. But realistically, the tornado threat is over where that line of storms has already passed. So the tornado threat is over for Forsyth County. The tornado threat is over for Fulton County and for Coweta County. So these counties likely will be chipped away from the back edge of that watch here, and that tornado threat continues here along this line. So we've got some new pictures in now from Mableton 285. Let's take a look at this. This is meteorologist Katie Walls, who is traveling in Severe Weather Chaser 2, and she's been traveling through Cobb County and taking some observations on the roads and across the area, and you can see the very heavy rain continues to fall. We've got ponding on the roads at times, poor drainage. I know the DOT crews have been out trying to clear leaves from the drains and have been doing a good job, but there's so many leaves and so many drains, unfortunately can't always get all of them. And I point that out because that's going to lead to ponding on the roads, some street flooding at times, especially in the areas where the heaviest rain is occurring. Jefferson, I-85 to the north, one of those spots where we had a very heavy rain and the active tornado warning, but we've been watching it. The rotation has been broad and the lofted debris signature has been absent to this point. Let's go through, Brian, and cycle through those types of data and see if we can get any new information on that, the rotation and the potential for some lofted debris signature in this area. So right here, pretty broad rotation. Let's go to the correlation coefficient and see if we can pick up anything with that, and not so much, just kind of a noisy display. So that's really good news. It makes it more difficult to track the precise threat location because everything is so broad in this area. But the good news is that the threat is less than it was with the earlier tornado warning. Still, if you're in this tornado warning and you're in the path of this storm, you would be well advised to seek shelter out of an abundance of caution, lowest level of your house, away from windows to get away from broken glass, flying debris, and an interior room. You want more walls between you and the outside, as many as possible, so get to that interior room. Here's the storm track along the leading edge of the storm that has triggered this tornado warning. Arcade in 2 minutes, Statham in about 2 minutes, Apple Valley in 4, Brockton in 6 minutes, off towards Commerce in 7, Bogart in 8, Clarksboro about the same time, Attica in 10, Nicholson 12 minutes from you, Center in 15. There's Athens, there's UGA, and this storm is going to pass near, but likely the worst of it stays just north of the Athens area as it moves through Jefferson now and generally in the direction of Danielsville, although it's likely a good 45 minutes to an hour for the worst of it makes it to Danielsville. It's over Jefferson, moving towards Nicholson. There's Commerce and Commerce Middle School, and this is a broad area of heavy rain. And although the rotation is broad and the radar presentation is less defined than these other tornado warnings, even if tornado touchdowns do not occur, and they very well might, damaging straight line winds still a very real possibility here. Winds gusting in excess of 60 miles an hour can take down trees, take down power lines, and cause damage to buildings. And of course, you can get trees on buildings. And we've had numerous reports of of just that in parts of Cobb County, where Ross Cavett has given us some live reports in parts of Cobb County where there's been some numerous trees down, some reports of some building damage that Ross brought to us, and I suspect that we're going to get much more of that as we follow the path of that storm across Buckhead, north DeKalb, Gwinnett County, and then towards the east. So here's the video we have from Cobb County. Ross Cavett out there reporting on that, and you can see there's trees down, power lines down there in that image, and Ross pointed out that the trees down are facing in multiple directions, which is a big clue that the trees were blown down by rotating winds, likely from a tornado. That's one piece of the puzzle, but we know from the radar presentation at the time, we had a radar indication of a tornado. We had a radar confirmed tornado, meaning we were able to detect the lofted debris from that tornado at the time, and this whole line continues to spread to the east. For those of you watching the northwestern metro, up into far north Georgia, and in particular northwest Georgia, improving conditions for you. The rain is tapering off in northwest Georgia. This is coming to an end here for the northwestern part of the metro area and points to the northwest pretty quickly, although the rain will linger a little bit longer. The threat for severe weather is really right along that main line, and let me highlight it for you here. It extends from about Rabun County around Clayton, down through Towns County, and all the way down here. You see the line with this embedded thunderstorms, the red. That's where we have the severe weather threat, primarily damaging straight line winds, but we've already had some isolated tornadoes embedded in that, and more possible, in particular here from Winder to Jefferson over towards Nicholson, where that active tornado warning remains in effect for about another 20 minutes. It's actually about 28 minutes from now at 3:15. So 23 minutes from now. Nonetheless, we're looking at this moving towards the east as it continues to bring very heavy rain, gusty winds, and the potential for some tornado touchdowns. Up towards Homer, we've got some heavy rain just back towards your west, just to the south. The risk for damaging wind gusts in that location could bring down some trees and some power lines. And Brian, okay, we've got DOT picture from Winder now. So here's Winder on the radar, the heaviest rain just to the east. And here we are at 129 northbound at State Road 53 in Winder. That's Winder Highway. And you can see it's a little wet there, not looking all that stormy. So some good news around Winder as the worst of the weather has passed just back towards, just to the east, and on the backside to the west, improving conditions. Brian, why don't you show folks the active weather down in the South Metro?
Yeah, let's take a look at some of that heavy rain that's falling right now as we make our way down through Barrow County, coming down through Gwinnett, Walton, Newton counties, Rockdale County, heavy rain. In fact, what I want you to notice here is where we go so quickly from green colors to red colors on our reflectivity when they're adjacent like that, right next to each other, touching each other. That gradient, that difference in the reflectivity, a sign of some very strong wind. Straight line wind we're likely seeing now. Let's get some video from the south side now. This is I-75 in Henry County, I believe. And boy, look at that rain coming down now. Heavily, this is a very area that backs up certainly during the evening commute on a quiet night. So I think we're going to certainly have some issues there as you make your way along I-75 in Henry County. Here's that close-up view as well on the left-hand side of your screen on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar. Again, no warnings in Henry County, but look at all that heavy rain falling. So certainly ponding on the road, hydroplaning going to be a big concern as we head through the rest of the afternoon and into the evening commute as well. And zooming out the view a bit, don't want to forget about folks in Fayette County, Clayton County. The heaviest of the rain now is passing by to your south and east, but still some heavy rain certainly falling near Jonesboro, south sections of Clayton County in through south Fayette County. Heavy rain as well on the south side as well. Exiting Meriwether County, coming in towards Zebulon, Thomaston, and along with this heavy rain again, Brad, we're going to have that potential for that possibility of wind gusts on the order of 40 to 60 miles per hour. Now I think we have a time lapse of the heavy rain that was coming into Atlanta. Boy, look at that curtain of rain come in across our Midtown camera earlier on this afternoon. That was about an hour or so ago. We had some of the heaviest rain come in across Midtown Atlanta 45 minutes or so ago, along with the wind and certainly some heavy totals. In fact, Brad, as you go ahead and pick back up here on Storm Tracker 2 HD radar, I'm going to go ahead and check some of the rainfall amounts we've seen. You've seen the pictures of the flooding and ponding on the road, certainly some substantial rain has come along with this as well.
Yeah, no question. I suspect we've already had rainfall amounts in excess of an inch in many locations, over 2 in a few spots, and that's on top of the 1 to 3 inches we saw yesterday. So that's leading to the ponding on the roads, a quick rise in some streams, creeks, and rivers. I expect it will be brief, and the flood potential is fairly minor, but it's not zero. It's something that we're going to continue to monitor. Really, the heavy rain is the silver lining to this whole system. Of course, we can do without the damage and the tornado threat, but nonetheless, we do have heavy rain, and it's right here along this leading edge of the heaviest rain where we have the threat for the strongest winds in excess of 60 miles an hour, knocking down trees and power lines. And remember, if you encounter a power line down, don't touch it. Assume it's live, often it is, and just call the utility company or call 911 and let them know. Here's the leading edge of that heaviest rain where the strongest winds are. Back to the rest of the metro area and the northwest metro, steady beneficial rains continue, but they're hampering the cleanup efforts, I suspect, in many spots. That'll be ending here later this evening. Here's the active tornado warning just northwest of Athens. This has been a fairly broad circulation and a relatively poor representation on radar, but nonetheless, there is the potential for some tornado touchdowns in this area now east of Jefferson, approaching Nicholson, west of Nicholson, north of Bogart, and in the bottom right corner of your screen, this is the Athens area. This is staying just to the north and west of Athens, so good news for that population center and for the University of Georgia there. From Winder, heavy rain continues, but improving conditions, so a diminishing severe weather threat around Winder, continuing around Jefferson. Farther to the south and west, we have got steady rain in Gwinnett County, heavy around Snellville, eastern sections of Gwinnett. Now the western, say, third of Walton County, very heavy rain there, moving towards Monroe. And it's in this area where we have the potential for some strong straight line winds. We have some video now just in from Gwinnett County where the rain is falling heavily. That's what it looks like now in Gwinnett County where the roads are wet. And this is going to make for a terrible commute. But the good news is the rain won't be quite this heavy as we head towards the peak commute hours. It's still going to be wet. The damage is done to the roads as far as the wet conditions, and I would just pack your patience, give yourself plenty of time to go where you need to go this afternoon and this evening, and if you can delay that, I would recommend it. Remember, you can download our Severe Weather Team 2 weather app. It's free. It sends you alerts, and you can watch on the app live streaming of our Channel 2 severe weather coverage. If you happen to lose power, you can still follow along in our app. So go to the App Store, the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store, and search WSB-TV weather, and you can download that app. So just a little reminder there. These storms moving into Walnut Grove now towards Conyers with some very heavy rain. Wind speeds on the order of about 30 miles an hour with gusts higher than that. Gusts certainly over 50 and at times to 60, not out of the question. So tree limbs, branches, small trees could come down, bring down some additional power lines. So power outages, certainly a concern and will continue to be a concern until this spreads towards the east. So Brian's doing a storm track along the leading edge of this heaviest rain, already raining in every one of these spots, I recognize, but this is the time of arrival of those heaviest downpours. So let's take you through a few of these. Oak Hill coming in there now, pace in about 2 minutes, Jersey in 7, Monroe in 9, Porterdale about 10 minutes from you. Heavy rain, and that's when we can have those 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts arrive right along the leading edge where we have a very sharp gradient where we go from green to yellow to red in a very narrow time span and a very narrow spot. I'm talking just a mile or so. That's one of the indications we look for on radar of strong winds right there along that leading edge. It could take down some trees. So farther to the west, here you are in Stone Mountain, Snellville, moderate to occasionally heavier rain, but this is just a good soaking rain over most of Gwinnett, all of DeKalb County. Fulton County, the severe weather threat is over for you. The rains continue from Alpharetta to Roswell. Here's Cobb and Douglas counties still socked in with rain, but no severe weather threat. That's the case back towards Fairburn, Fayetteville, into Coweta County around Noonan, no severe weather threat. The rain tapering off now in parts of Carroll County, western Carroll County and Carrollton, the rain tapering off. The rain tapering off in Paulding County. The rain has ended up towards Floyd County and Rome. So good news there as the threat for not just severe weather, but the rain itself is ending in northwest Georgia as dry air is settling in. And By the way, much cooler air is coming behind this system. We'll talk more about that coming up on Channel 2 Action News beginning at 4. Here's a look at some Doppler radar estimated rainfall totals, and the heaviest rain, as Brian pointed out, was just to the north and west so far, but that continuing to add up, and now we're adding to these totals to the east as this line continues to progress towards the east. Let's come into the South Metro. You can see here's a severe thunderstorm warning centered around Zebulon for damaging straight line winds, not tornadic winds, not tornado, but wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour. Very likely that's expected around the Zebulon area and tracking towards the east. So that's going to put it into Griffin in about 2 minutes, East Griffin in 5, Piedmont in 9 minutes, 5 Points in 10, and Milner about 11 minutes from you. Brian, let's go back up to the tornado warning area, because remember, parts of Barrow, Clark, Jackson County remain under this tornado warning until 3:15. We've been checking this, going to other locations, kind of back and forth, but I want to reset this and point out some areas that are under the tornado warning, but the threat has ended. So let me give you a heads up. In Jefferson, the threat is over for you. Back towards the west, around West Jackson Middle School and those surrounding communities, the threat is over for you. The threat continues now around Nicholson for damaging winds and even an isolated tornado spin-up. The presentation on radar shows this rotation. It has not been quite as organized of an appearance on radar as the thunderstorms that produced the tornado warnings earlier this afternoon. And importantly, for those of you around Athens and the University of Georgia, it's there at the bottom of your screen. This rotating part of the storm is to your northwest, and I expect it's going to pass just to the north. So here you are, Nicholson. There's Athens at the bottom of your screen. It's right in between here where we have the greatest threat, and that's going to continue off towards the east. And if that threat holds together, if that rotation holds together, then Danielsville would be the next spot kind of downstream that we'd have to watch here very carefully. But for now, from Commerce to Nicholson, passing safely to the north of Athens, this is the area where we have the greatest risk for severe weather and even isolated tornado touchdown not out of the question. That tornado warning remains in effect for a few more minutes until 3:15. We're at 3:07 now, so we're talking just a few more minutes till that tornado warning is scheduled to expire. Look back towards the west. Jefferson, Pendergrass, Brazelton, that storm has moved through your area. So if you're in Jefferson and you went to your basement, you did the right thing. You made the right decision, but now the threat's passed. You can come on up in Jefferson, in Pendergrass, in Brazelton. The threat's coming to an end for you as it continues to spread towards the east. Let's, Brian, go to a wider view just to kind of reset the overall situation here, as this is just a small piece of a much larger band of strong and severe thunderstorms moving across the area from Cornelia to Homer. Some very heavy rain moving into Homer now and extends down to the southwest. So parts of the far east metro into the south metro. We've got some very heavy rain in this location, and it continues to track towards the east. So here we are at 3:08. We've been tracking tornado warnings live since Channel 2 Action News at noon. The strongest storms are now beginning to move farther out of the east metro, passing just to the north of Athens. Our one and only active tornado warning scheduled to expire in about 6 minutes. So we do have a trend for improving conditions, but the threats are not completely over. So we're going to stay with you here as these threats continue. But I do want to point out for those of you across the heart of the metro area, so we're talking about inside the perimeter and certainly the northern, the western suburbs and the southwest suburbs for now, improving conditions. The severe weather threat is winding down. Here we are looking from Commerce to Jefferson. We were in the mode that shows, we saw the pink lofted debris. We're not seeing that. We do still have some circulation here near Nicholson to the north of Athens, and we're going to continue to watch that very carefully. But this warning scheduled to expire in about 5 minutes. Brian?
Yeah, about 3:15 we will have that warning expiring, though we are still watching those Boeing segments out in parts of Jackson County right now, out toward Commerce. In fact, getting a new one of those shear markers on our Storm Tracker 2 HD radar, indicating that sign of a little bit of rotation still showing up there. And this is going to be, as I zoom in a little bit closer here, I want to show you that area of rotation is going to be in the area of Commerce Middle School, Nicholson. So basically at the farthest east point that tornado warning is in effect. And again, that's going to go for about 5 minutes. I'm checking with the National Weather Service to see if they're going to continue that warning beyond 3:15. But right now, no indication of that. But still, I do want you taking those tornado precautions if you live around Commerce right now, east parts of Jackson County, in and around the Danielsville area, Athens area. It's going to get windy. It's going to be very rainy here very shortly, but the threat of any rotation and the sign of any rotation has been to your north. I know in the last 15-20 minutes we've heard there have been tornado sirens sounding on the campus of UGA because of this tornado warning, but again, it looks like that threat is mainly off to your north. Now, as we pull back the view farther off to the south and west, you can see heavy rain coming in through Walton County, through Newton County, Monroe. In fact, you're right at the leading edge now in Monroe, right in here. Probably some wind gusts on the order of 40 to 50 miles per hour. We've certainly had some reports of straight line wind damage, some power lines down, some trees down, apart from some of the potential tornado damage we've had across North Georgia so far this afternoon. And again, farther to the south along this line through areas around Covington, very heavy rain coming in, strong wind gusts there. In fact, just getting a new severe thunderstorm warning now on the south side. That's going to be for Lamar and Spalding counties until 3:45. I'll take you down there in just a second. But if you live back to the west of Conyers, so let's say from Rockdale County back through DeKalb County, Fulton County, it's raining. It's going to be a tough evening commute if you're watching us right now on the WSB-TV weather app or online at WSB-TV.com planning your evening commute. You can sit at work maybe an extra hour or two tonight. May not be a bad idea because there's going to be a lot of water on the road. The roads are a mess already and only going to see more issues as more folks get on the roads. And as we take a look back to the west, you can see things really calming down now through Cobb County, Douglas County. But on the south side, Brad, really heavy rain coming down, strong wind, and some severe thunderstorm warnings again for Spalding County and for Lamar County till 3:45, and a brand new severe thunderstorm warning. And any of these storms have the potential of a tornado forming, and that's going to be in Banks County, Jackson County, and Madison County. So it looks like that tornado warning, Brad, they're going to extend it, but as a severe thunderstorm warning.
Gotcha. So good news there. We're going to stay on the air a little bit past the expiration of this tornado warning, just to bring you through the end of the threat. So the warning expires at 3:15. It is not being extended as a tornado warning. We're going to stay on with you till the bottom of the hour at least, till about 3:30. And then if the threat has diminished at that point, we're going to go back to regular programming until we begin Channel 2 Action News at 4 o'clock. But we're going to play that by ear. We're going to see how things evolve here over the next 15 minutes or so. We have the severe thunderstorm warnings now down in the South Metro from Griffin to just east of Zebulon, approaching Barnesville. Meteorologist Brian Monahan putting a storm track along the leading edge where the damaging wind potential is, moving to Piedmont now, Orchard Hill in about 2 minutes, 5 points, just 3 minutes from you. We're going to continue off towards Milner in 5 minutes, Chapel about 13 minutes, and it's going to continue that spread towards the east. Brian, you got some new information?
And we can go ahead and take that tornado warning banner there down at the bottom of the screen. The tornado warning now expiring for Barrow, Clark, and Jackson counties as expected about 3 minutes early.
Yeah, it looks like they canceled that just a few minutes early. So good news there. Let's drop this track. Let's give a reset here now, the wider North Georgia perspective, because I want to show you a couple things. For the first time in quite a while this afternoon, we have no active tornado warnings. That's great news. We still do have a tornado watch for parts of the eastern parts of our area. Remember the difference. Tornado warning means a tornado has been sighted or detected by radar or is imminent as indicated by radar. Tornado warning means there is a tornado in a sense. A tornado watch means the overall conditions are favorable for tornado development, and that's what we have now. Still a tornado watch for this area, but no warnings. We have no indications right now of any tornadoes occurring. That's a big difference from what we've had through the afternoon and a big improvement. This is the leading edge of the potential for these isolated tornadoes, but also the damaging straight line winds. All the yellow you see flashing, these are the active severe thunderstorm warnings that Brian Monahan and I have been taking you through. They extend from northeastern parts of Georgia down towards Gainesville, north of Athens, in the South Metro. Severe thunderstorm warning issued in this case for winds expected in excess of 58 miles an hour. We've seen that already knock down some trees. And then back towards the west, rain tapering off in the west and northwest metro. The rain has ended in northwest Georgia. We've got some new video now of some damage in Cobb County. This video has come in from Austell, and check this out. Ross Cavitt's been giving us live reports through the afternoon from this area. He's reported trees down and power lines down. As you see there, there's a large tree down and numerous branches near that QT in Austell in Cobb County. And one important piece of information that Ross was able to share with us is the trees that are down are not all laying in the same direction. That's what you would expect to see if it was a straight line wind damage laying in the same direction. What he's reporting is the trees are in different directions, and that's an indication of being caused by rotating winds and tornado. This video now, new video, we're just bringing in here to Channel 2 from Buckhead. Brian Monahan and I were tracking this radar-indicated tornado through Buckhead, and look at the size of that, unfortunately, a large, beautiful tree down in Buckhead. Power lines down. Remember, anywhere you see a power line down, you must assume that it's a live power line. Don't try to handle that yourself. Stay away from it. Conditions are improving around Buckhead, improving in Cobb County. The severe weather threat is over in those two locations, but the rain still continues, and it's going to start to gradually taper off here over the next few minutes. So here we have some active severe thunderstorm warnings in parts of northeast Georgia and the South Metro. No tornado warnings. Brian, let's show the map of the tornado watch, what's left of it. It was issued today right about noon, just a few minutes after noon, as Karen Minton and Brian Monahan went on Channel 2 Action News at noon with that threat. It has been whittled away, that tornado watch, the back edge has been whittled away as the severe weather threat has gone farther to the east. Hey, Brian, can we load up the tornado watch here, and we'll drop the rain here. Just I want to point out the areas that still have this tornado threat as indicated by the red counties. It's this line here, and that's where the tornado watch remains in effect. That's until 6 o'clock this evening, but I expect we're going to see several of these counties drop from it and then eventually completely canceled, perhaps even before 6 o'clock, because once this line moves through, your tornado threat is over. So technically, for Forsyth County, Fulton County, back into Coweta County, and these counties are out of the tornado threat, but still technically continue in the watch. That's going to be rectified here pretty soon, I suspect, as these storms continue to track towards the east. The yellow flashing on the map, these are severe thunderstorm warnings, not for hail, but for damaging straight line wind gusts around 60 miles an hour or so. So that's much of northeast Georgia, now into parts of South Carolina and down in the South Metro, long and just to the west of I-75. So, Brian, let's put the rain back on. Let's do a little tour of some of the areas being hardest hit now. And I want to remind you that we're going to stay on with you at least until 3:30. The tornado warnings have all expired, but we still have very heavy rain and damaging straight line wind potential. If we have no indications of developing tornadoes between now and 3:30, we're going to take a brief break into regular programming from 3:30 to 4, and of course a complete wrap-up on all the storms and the damage across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia and Channel 2 Action News at 4 o'clock. We've got numerous reporters out in the field, meteorologist Katie Walls and Severe Weather Chaser 2, and so we're going to have a complete wrap-up of all that beginning at 4. But right now, we have very heavy rain in and just to the west of Danielsville, and that's tracking to the east. Meteorologist Katie Walls is with us now live. Katie, you're on I-85, is that right? Tell us exactly where you are, what you're seeing.
So where we are, we're approaching the Hateville exit. I just passed the airport on my right-hand side. I'm heading northbound on I-85. Right now, we're flowing along smoothly. We haven't had any major issues, thank goodness, but I expect as soon as we hit the connector, you know, it's just going to be back-to-back, bumper to bumper. But at this point, we've been hitting some pretty good puddles. It's really important to watch your speed because you can be going, say, 70 happily, and then all of a sudden you hit a major puddle and boom, you hydroplane. So please keep that in mind as you head into this afternoon and evening commute. Unfortunately, I just expect it's going to be chaotic because these roads continue to be wet. We have seen some drainage ditches that have been clogged, especially with those leaves that have gotten in the way. Of course, GDOT has done a great job, but still seeing some of that, especially on the shoulders, on the berms, and people are driving pretty recklessly, just cutting you off here or there, not using their signals. So keep that in mind as well. But we'll continue to monitor this for you and track the road conditions for you on Channel 2 Action News starting at 4 o'clock.
All right, Katie, thank you very much. Appreciate that report. Be careful out there. Slow down for everybody. Ponding on the roads is going to continue to be a problem even after the worst of the weather comes to an end. So here's what we're looking at. The heaviest rain now near Danielsville. There's Athens, and we were tracking the tornado potential just to the north of the Athens area. That tornado potential has diminished significantly. But I want to point out for those of you in Athens, UGA, and the surrounding areas, the heaviest rain is still to come for you. This line from Jefferson to east of Winder down towards Monroe, and that's tracking to the east towards Athens. It'll be there in the next few minutes. With that, what we're seeing now, likely 40, even 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So although the tornado potential is currently pretty low in and around the Athens area, the straight line wind damage potential is going to be going up here over the next 10 to 15 minutes as this line moves through. It's the same story back towards Jefferson. Improving conditions on the backside of this line in Winder, improving in Monroe as it continues to track towards the east. Widespread soaking rain lingers behind the severe weather threat and will take a few hours for that to diminish as well. So here we are on Gainesville, Dahlonega towards Dawsonville, Cumming, Buford, Lawrenceville, all these locations. You are out of the severe weather threat, but that heavy rain continues, and that will be slow to taper off. Let's go a little bit farther to the south, Brian, down towards Conyers and Covington. This is I-20 right here. Torrential downpours along the interstate. You'd be well advised to delay any travel east on I-20 until these storms can get a little bit farther out and get the opportunity for some of that water to drain away. Farther to the south, Jonesboro towards McDonough across Henry County. No severe weather threat currently, but we do have some heavy rains there. They're down here at the bottom of your screen. And then farther down to the south, into the South Metro, Brian, we've got severe thunderstorm warning that we've been watching in that area, and that's from Griffin down towards Barnesville. It's been just west of I-75. That's going to change, though. Look at this. From just south of McDonough on I-75, very heavy rain. This stretch of the interstate, as you know, south of 75, 675 split, gets terrible traffic anyway. Adding this heavy rain certainly is going to complicate matters. And then more heavy rain about to move into I-75 in towards Butts County. So watching that very carefully. Moving into Chapel in about 2 minutes. Johnstonville in about 5, towards Jackson and 13, and Blunt in about 15 minutes from you. Severe thunderstorm warning in this area for damaging winds gusting to about 60 miles an hour in that area as it continues to track towards the east. Back towards the west, the rain continues, but it is a little bit lighter. Brian?
Yeah, Brad, we have some new information now, some new damage reports that I want to bring along to you. Again, this large severe thunderstorm warning, we have a brand new one that's just been issued. In fact, just a couple of minutes ago, that includes Butts County, Henry County, Jasper County, and also going to be Newton County, and that's until about 3:45. So the areas Brad was just highlighting there on the south side, you can see that heavy rain coming in toward areas around Johnstonville in 5 minutes, Jackson coming up in about 12 minutes. Gusty winds, certainly above 40 miles per hour possible. Higher gusts possible in some neighborhoods as well as this heavy rain makes its way off to the east across the south side of the metro. Also want to point out some damage reports we're getting in Rockdale County in the area of High Rock Road and Harlan Street in Rockdale County. So in the vicinity of Conyers area, some reports of trees down in Rockdale County. And that's been a very common report across North Georgia. We've had reports from Ross Cabot in Cobb County of a lot of damage, likely tornadic damage in parts of Cobb County, and now some additional damage there on the east side as you head out toward Rockdale County. We have reports of trees down again. That's going to be along High Rock Road and Harlan Street. And that's the result, as we come back up here a little bit to the north, of this part of the line right here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it, running from Clark County, just west of Athens, down through Walton and Newton County. So east of Monroe, Covington, up and west of the Madison area. So if you're in Morgan County right now, if you are in Clark County right now, the leading edge of this line, Brad, has a history now back in Rockdale County around Conyers of putting trees down. That's the kind of wind we're dealing with.
Yeah, so damaging straight line winds, 60 miles an hour, not out of the question. That's the reason for these severe thunderstorm warnings. Where we don't have those warnings, the winds perhaps slightly less than that, but still enough to bring down those trees and those power lines. Headed into Athens now, starting to taper off in Monroe, generally headed towards Madison. Rain starting to move into Greene County a bit, but you still have about an hour or so before the heaviest gets to you. So Brian's doing a storm track along the leading edge of this, moving into Bostwick in about 6 minutes. Watkinsville heads up 7 minutes from the heavy rain and the strongest winds making it to you. Already raining in these spots, I recognize, and about 12 minutes to Farmington. Let's zoom in towards the Athens area, and let's do a storm track specifically for Athens along the leading edge of this area of heavy rain as it's moving in towards Athens and UGA. So here we are, Clark County, south, or rather western and northwestern Clark County. This is the leading edge of the worst of this weather, and it's moving into Athens in the next few minutes and tracking towards the east. So about 2 minutes before the leading edge of the worst of this weather makes it into Athens. So that's going to be happening here now into Hull in about 6 minutes, Watkinsville in 9, and then about 10 minutes away or so from these next few cities. So we're Whitehall, Patterson, Green Acres, Winterville 12 minutes, Colbert also about 12 minutes. And with this, 40, 50 mile an hour straight line winds could bring down some trees, bring down some branches or some power lines. So heads up around Athens, UGA, heads up around Watkinsville, just a few minutes from you. Farther to the north from Danielsville to Carnville and up in towards Clayton and Rabun County, some very heavy rain up there. Remember, we've been talking for weeks now about the drought, but specifically the fires there. So Brian's circling this area in Rabun County, just to the west and northwest of Clayton, one of the areas that has been suffering so much. So heavy rain over this fire, and also the Rough Ridge fire in Fannin County has had significant inches of rain yesterday and today. Starting to taper off now, but about 1.5 inches of rain was measured in this part of Fannin County yesterday, and I expect we're going to see totals similar, comparable to that today. So good soaking rain over the fires. There's some good news in this. At the same time, I know a lot of our friends, neighbors, our Channel 2 viewers are dealing with some cleanup in parts of Cobb County, in parts of Buckhead. We've had some damage reports there, and unfortunately I suspect many more damage reports are going to be coming in the hours ahead as folks are able to get home and get out into the neighborhoods after the storms pass and check it out. We've had some radar confirmed tornadoes today, and some lofted debris signatures shown on radar in some of the most populated parts of Metro Atlanta. So this is one of those days that many of us will never forget, with tornadoes touching down in parts of Metro Atlanta. The connector, here's what the video from there looks like right now. This is Severe Weather Chaser 2 on I-85-75 in the connector, and you can see the traffic is picking up as you'd expect this time of year, and it is wet, but the severe weather threat is over for that location. The storm track that Brian's showing us here, the leading edge of the storm moving through western Butts County in towards Jackson, will be about 6 minutes from Jackson, off towards Pepperton in 8 minutes, Indian Springs in 11, Stark in 12, Flovilla in about 13 minutes as it continues, again, east-northeast, damaging straight line winds possible there. Here's McDonough, Henry County. The heaviest rains extends from McDonough through the southern part of the county. The rest of the South Metro, very wet, but the severe weather threat has come to an end from Riverdale to Jonesboro, back towards Fayetteville and Atlanta. To the west around Douglasville, we have some scattered light showers. We had tornado warning earlier, Douglas, parts of Cobb, Fulton County, and we've been tracking that through the afternoon. Let's go, Brian, a little wider picture here so we can just kind of set the stage for what's happening and what I expect to happen here in the hours ahead. This is a look now at the rain that has ended and is completely over in northwest Georgia. It's tapering off in parts of the North Georgia mountains, the northern, the western, and the southwestern metro area for that matter. So basically along and west of I-85, the severe weather threat is over, and that severe weather threat will continue to diminish to the east. We've been with you continuously on air and online since Channel 2 Action News at noon today, covering these tornadoes that we warned you about. Well, we're going to return now to regular programming for the next half hour. We'll be back for live Severe Weather Team 2 coverage on Channel 2 Action News at 4. We're getting new reports of damage in Atlanta, Cobb, Gwinnett counties. We have the largest team of reporters fanned out, getting new video for Channel 2 Action News at 4. In the meantime, if any new tornado warnings pop up between now and then, we'll break into programming. I'll see you at 4. Oh, no.